We'll give it another minute just to make sure everybody has a chance to load into the webinar. Thank you all for being here and being patient as we get our technology all figured out. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to the 2022 Pitch Oregon Pitch Competition. We're so excited to have you all here today. We have 13 amazing companies pitching for equitable investments in the amount of $325,000. So we are really looking forward to all these pitches today. And before we do that, I want to just give a special shout out to the sponsors that you see on the screen. Without their support, events like this just wouldn't be possible. So a huge shout out to Newmark, Brand Live, and Elevate Capital, along with Great Notion Brewing, Moss Adams, and Tonkin Torp. Again, thank you so much. Without further ado, I'm going to turn it right over to Amy Yike, who is a commercial real estate broker with one of our sponsors, Newmark, and she's going to lead us through the day. Amy, go ahead and take it from here.
Thanks, Carrie. Well, I just want to welcome everyone and thank you all for spending your afternoon with us. As Carrie said, I'm Amy Yike with Newmark, a commercial office broker. I, along with Ben Nahir and Anna Hope Kabongo, will be with the Thai Oregon Angels. Will be taking us through the pitches today. Pitch is Thai Oregon's annual marquee pitch event that works with organizations around the Pacific Northwest and California to find the best concept and seed stage companies in 4 categories: clean tech, life science, software tech enabled, and last, early stage. New this year, the first 3 categories I mentioned will be competing for equitable investments totaling $300,000. And the winner of the early stage category will receive a $25,000 equitable investment. With over 150 applications this year, it was extremely hard to select the finalists, and the companies you see on the screen are the companies that we have selected. For early stage category, we have Instinct Environmental Company, Market Games, and Tonsil Tech. For the clean tech category, we have Comfort IQ, Leapfrog Designs, and Pollen Systems Corporation. For the life science category, we have Biomodem Inc., Novusun Surgical, Potomac, and Rewire Neuro. And last, for the software tech enable category, we have Coursera, Loopy Laundry, and Moonshadow Mobile. Each company will have 7 minutes to present with 3 minutes of Q&A from our judging panel. Speaking of judges, please help me welcome our esteemed panel. When I call your name, please give a little wave. Diane Freeman, Managing Director of Voyager Capital. Lateef Jackson, Thai Oregon board member and angel investor. And last, Nidhi Goel, Thai Oregon charter member. Thank you guys for being here with us today. We really appreciate your time. So as I just mentioned, each presenter gets 7 minutes to pitch with 3 minutes of Q&A from the judges. Presenter, please take note that the timing will be strictly adhered to so that we can all leave the event on time to get to the awards show on time. Ben Nahir, Thai Oregon Angel Program Director, will let you know when your time is up. So Ben will be giving you a little wave. So please pay attention and look out for that. So with that said, let's get started with the early stage. And as a reminder, the early stage finalists are Instinct Environmental Company, Market Games, and Tonsil Tech. So first up, let's hear from Instinct Environmental Company, whose wireless sensor networks deployed in a forest bring real-time data, leveraged with AI to the fingertips of forest landowners. I think we're just waiting.
Thank you so much. It took a while to load on my end, but I'll share my screen right now. Great, thank you. It's great to be here. I'm Ashwin Datta, co-founder and CEO at Instinct. And yeah, at Instinct, we're all about bringing real-time data to forest management, to natural resource management, and to environmental monitoring. So it's no surprise to all of us here in the Northwest that wildfires are a growing threat, and the numbers really back that up. They've become 6 times more frequent and 12 times larger in just 30 years. The cost to monitor for wildfires on these lands is quite expensive, but the costs from damages due to the wildfires are exorbitant. And at the same time, there's no automated way to detect these wildfires unless they're visible from space or from far away. And this is a big shortcoming because the larger a fire is allowed to grow, the faster it will spread and the more likely it is to spiral out of control. That's why at Instinct, we're brainstorming the idea of wireless sensor networks, multi-purpose wireless sensor networks for environmental monitoring and wildfire detection. And the goal here is to bring real-time data to forest landowners that will help them first and foremost reduce damages, stop these fires quickly and stop them before they get big, save money on the actual monitoring costs associated with this, and then optimize their other day-to-day operations that are part of their existing business models. So the product's depicted in this diagram on the right. It's a wireless sensor network with a node cluster architecture. And the way that works is that one node unit, one of those black squares on the diagram, can control up to 20 sensor units, the green circles. But more importantly than controlling them, it's actually relaying their data to the server in real time. And on the server side, we're using pattern recognition to really leverage this data to the best way possible, detecting a wildfire within minutes of ignition instead of what is currently hours or even days. The system is modular, so there's no reason we can't stack other sensors on this system, and I'll talk more about that in a bit, and also physically scalable, so we can adjust to any size customer. So looking into that scalable nature of the system, it's the idea that with this node cluster architecture, we can deploy the number of clusters needed for the customer. So our beachhead market are timber companies, and let's just say a timber company in a given scenario is going to buy 10,000 clusters of sensors. The federal government, which is a much larger forest landowner, might buy 100,000 clusters of sensors. But an individual rancher, say in Wallowa County, Oregon, really rural area, long firefighter response times, but concerned about the operations they're doing on their land that might cause a fire, they can buy 2, 3, or 4 clusters and cover their entire land and get the same exact value add. So any parcel of forest land we can cover. But at the same time, we start thinking more about the modularity of the system. Here's a high-level overview of what the system looks like. Again, it's the sensor units out in the forest with a node. That cluster is self-contained. The data is going through the node, through a satellite uplink to the server, and then eventually to the client side. But what sensor we deploy on this forest side of the system, subject to power and data constraints, is really up to the customer. And this opens the door to this modularity aspect where we believe that this system can become the one-stop shop for environmental monitoring. We don't think of this as a wildfire detection system. We think of this as an environmental monitoring platform. And these are just some ideas of potential applications for this system, which we didn't come up with ourselves. We talked to forest landowners across different industries and asked them, what are pieces of data that right now it's a big pain point to collect them? Or what's data that you don't have access to at all, that if you had it could help you, better manage your resources in your business? And these are just some of the ideas that we came up with. And the things in bold here are things that we've already sold a pilot for and we're already working on. So we're very excited to bake this modularity aspect into our product right from the beginning. As far as our monetization here, we use a blended HaaS and SaaS model. With the pilots, it's just one price tag, but the idea is that the customer chooses the exact sensors that they want for the applications that they're trying to tackle. And then on the software side, there's different toolkits, some of which are for data analysis, some of which, like a deployment guide, are helping the users get the most out of their sensor system. Down the road, we definitely see a bigger shift and transition for us towards the software side. We think that that's a big play for us. And once we get a big enough deployment of this hardware, monetizing the data pool, as well as developing predictive algorithms that will leverage this data, I think is really the end goal here. As far as current traction is concerned, we're very excited to have our first paid pilot customer that we just landed, Weyerhaeuser. They're the second largest timber company in the world. They're based up in Seattle, but they have a lot of operations here in Northwest Oregon. And we have a $50,000 revenue contract with them. We also have paid pilots pending with Stimson Lumber Company and the Oregon Department of Forestry. And we're a Techstars Anywhere 2022 portfolio company. We're really excited to be part of this prestigious accelerator program. We're already getting a lot of mentorship and help and guidance in focusing and prioritizing the things that matter the most to really build our momentum. And then on the product side, we've had 2 seasons of real fire field testing here in Northwest Oregon with forest landowners such as the Oregon Department of Forestry, Weyerhaeuser, Stimson Lumber Company, and a couple others. So what we're doing right now is we are kind of starting to turn towards fundraising. We're keeping an eye on the next 3 months here, but our plan is to raise $1.5 million. And with this money, we're going to be able to really hit these important milestones that will get us to the next stage. And what that is finishing building out the MVP, executing and deploying these pilots, getting the feedback from them and refining the product. And once we get that hardware to a final level, we're ready to really increase the production and scale up the sales, get better production volumes, and then be able to start developing the software side of this, the data play, and the predictive algorithms that we think will be very valuable coming out of this. And to do that, we're going to need to grow our team. We're going to need a couple hardware engineers. We're also going to need to build a software team that will help us really get the correct architecture on this from the ground up. And we already have some people in mind, and we're very excited to add more like-minded people to our team. As far as the current team, it's just myself and my co-founder, Trevor. I'm really grateful to have him on board. He's an electrical engineering major at the Colorado School of Mines. He's just finishing up his degree because he took a year off to work at ExxonMobil, where he did sensors and instrumentation engineering. And then my background, I'm an environmental engineering major. I graduated from MIT back in May, and I've been working full-time on Instinct since August 1st. It's been a really exciting 6 months, and I'm really excited to see where we take it from here. So in closing, I just want to touch a little bit on why we want to do this. What got Trevor and I into this? I was born and raised here in a suburb of Portland, Oregon. I've, lived here most of my life, hiking, forestry, all of these things have been really part of my upbringing. And we're really close to these problems that these places are facing. I mean, this photo on the top left is me standing on top of a 13er in New Mexico. And then the photo on the bottom left is 24 hours later, we woke up and we spotted a wildfire nearby and had to evacuate 17 miles hiking out in one day to escape that fire. The whole time I was just thinking not about my situation, but about people who live close to these fires, people that live in these communities that are ravaged by these fires, and how we can really do something to help them and to stop this wildfire problem from spiraling out of control, because that's the direction we're going in right now. Trevor has similar sentiments. He lives currently in Colorado, and he was just 5 miles away from that recent fire in Boulder that happened in the winter. So this is a growing problem. Climate change and climate change resiliency is going to be really important. And we think that Instinct can really be key in bringing a data-driven approach to promoting these concepts. So that's a little bit about Instinct, and I'm happy to answer some questions. Thank you so much.
We have 3 minutes for Q&A.
Well, I'll start. Ashwin, it's Diane Freeman. Good to see you. So can you just clarify, congratulations on Weyerhaeuser being an early customer, but then you said that you're building out your MVP with this money. So what is it that you sold to Weyerhaeuser? And what do they think they bought?
So what we're really grateful for with Weyerhaeuser is that they were willing to invest in us and sign this pilot before our product is fully finished. So the delivery date of our product is in late fall of this year. So we're working towards that deadline quite diligently, and we believe we'll be able to. What do they think they bought? So when it's available, what do they think they bought? So they're buying clusters of sensors that do a few different things. Some of the sensors are more geared towards wildfire detection, and what those are temperature, humidity sensors, general weather data that will be deployed in the forest. They're also buying clusters of sensors to deploy on a nursery facility in Aurora that are doing soil moisture monitoring, soil nutrient monitoring, and other weather data.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lateef Jackson. That's a great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
What is kind of the lead time for discovery of a fire based on your research so far?
So far, because of those 2 seasons of real fire field testing I talked about, we worked with a lot of forest landowners here directly in that prototyping phase. So as far as developing like a formalized sales pipeline, for the pilot, we're just focusing on our connections that we have, and having one contract with Weyerhaeuser is helping us now get other pilots with other potential customers. That being said, everyone in this industry is incredibly well connected. So we believe that while I don't have a solid answer for you on like what the exact lead time is in acquiring new customers, I think that we're in a well-connected industry where we're able to leverage previous contacts and previous contracts to kind of go forward from there.
That was a great answer. I was hoping to dig into more like, what have you found, what's the lead time based on once you deploy the sensors that you actually discover and detect a fire?
Oh, my bad. Okay.
And we are going to have to keep this answer short.
Okay. In the field testing that we did, we were able to detect fires that were started in controlled burns within about 4 or 5 minutes after they were ignited. But yeah, sorry, I missed that question at the beginning.
Ashwin, this is Neeti. First of all, I wanted to say, with the millennials, social cause, associating their companies with social cause is very important. And I see that's happening. And I'm also assuming you're a millennial here, but congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I have, so if I look at it, it's basically sensors and you're collecting the data and, rolling out the information. I'm trying to wrap my, what is it's not disruptive, the technology itself, right? So how does your competitive landscape, or what are other companies, like why Ashwin's company right here?
Yeah, so just
So
really
let's keep this
briefly,
very short.
okay, so just really briefly, right now companies use manual labor to collect a lot of this data. They send people out there at all times of the day driving into these remote areas to get the data. As far as our competitors who are also working on similar situations, on the wildfire side, a lot of them are vision based, and there's like camera or satellite, and there's a number of issues with why those solutions aren't as effective or don't fit the same use cases, and why our system fits a wider use case. And I'd be happy to follow up with you about that after.
Perfect. We're going to have to wrap up there, but thank you, Ashwin.
Thank you so much
Thanks,
for your time.
Ashwin. Great job.
Thank you.
All right, so next up is Market Games, who is helping business educators scale their student success by offering a gamified learning solution. Sounds like something I could have used in school. So Market Games, if you want to share your screen.
Hi, can everyone see me? Perfect. All right, let me. Sorry about that. I probably lost a few minutes on that. Can everyone see the slide? I'll just run right through it. Hi, my name is Torsa Koti. I'm the founder and CEO of Market Games, and I'm building the next generation textbook for business education. And here's why. Employees desire undergrads that demonstrate the ability to think critically and work in teams effectively. And as a result, higher eds are actively looking and seeking programs, textbook alternatives to help them meet these learning goals. We believe the solution to the problem is to gamify the textbook. Less upfront reading, more activities, better assessment, greater insights. And given that employers are engaging students very early, we focus on the first year experience. So this is a class at UC Berkeley. Like in this introductory business course, students are learning basic business understanding and economics. We believe that every undergrad should be exposed to these types of courses. As a faculty member who support these types of courses, it's a pain to manage, to drive engagement, and as well as for assessment, to grade assessment is very challenging. And if you can think of a situation where you have to grade 100+ projects subjectively, that can be extremely painful. And this is some of the reasons why professors use textbooks, because it's just easy to implement, but that is also changing. And we believe to help educators meet their learning goals, we build this fun business game where students work in teams, make decisions, and compete with each other for market share and profits over a virtual business environment. They get instant feedback loop of their decisions, and as they play, they're completing these peer assessments to give peer feedback to their teammates. Professors, they like this game because it's very easy to implement. It's very easy to implement at scale. Assessment is easy, it's very objective. So they see a lot of value in it. But one of the things we found really interesting is in the peer assessments, we're able to collect a lot of very interesting insights about students' leadership skills. And these are the things we see that employers care about. And one of the things we're rolling out this semester is these skill badges that students could use to promote on Handshake, LinkedIn, to help them land internship opportunities. So this is the insights part of the tools that we're looking to build. And our business model is essentially we partner with professors, we partner with programs. Our approach is to partner with, our approach is to go through partnerships because there's lower acquisition costs, higher retention, better margins. So we go to the schools, we talk to professors and deans that are looking to meet these new learning goals. such as critical thinking and teamwork skills, and demonstrate value why they should be incorporated. Students pay a fee, and that's essentially how our business model works as of today. Traction is last year we generated 80K in revenue. Right now we're at 203K, and we're looking to hit at least 500K by the fall. And our customer acquisition strategy is essentially creating fun, inspiring, thoughtful leadership content, and then follow that up with email marketing, and then close and solidify those relationships through conferences. So there's a couple of big conferences that's coming up this cycle in March, April, and May that we're looking to ramp up and generate more customers. And, you know, like, we're really excited about where we're taking this. We have this partnership now with OpenStax, and that allow us to really do a lot of fun things and build this new generation textbook, which it is, you know, more activity, more engaged, more activity, better assessment, greater insights. And with that, that's it for the presentation. Hopefully I stayed within the time period.
You actually have about 2.5 minutes left if you have anything else you'd like to add. Otherwise, we can do an extended Q&A.
Fine. So perfect. So I rushed through some of this. So let me expand a little bit more about the game and how the game works. So in this class, students are taking marketing, accounting, finance, and operation in silos. And there's no way for them to connect the dots. So they play this game as a way to see how all these different functions work together, and they're working in teams. And what's the real value in this is how they are able to solve problems with the right answers, how they're leveraging data. So when they go through this experience, they fill out this peer assessments, and this is where we get a lot of really interesting insights about what leadership skills they currently possess that they can highlight, and then also what areas they need to develop. Professors know that now, and they can essentially build a curriculum or a learning experience to help them improve on those leadership skills. In terms of the schools, we've been using email marketing. We have a list of over 2,000 professors that are our target audience. And our open rate is at 50%. You know, our click-through rate is at 19%, very high. Sorry, click-through rate is at 4%. Click rate is at 4%, very high. So we see that professors and deans are highly engaged with what we're offering. And we have these conferences that are coming up where we can close in a lot of customers, where we can generate somewhere between 500 to 1.5 million in sales. And the next phase of our product is essentially building these skill badges so that students are not only just paying for this content, they're also getting a lot of value beyond just the course.
And you have 1 minute. Or we can do 4 minutes of Q&A instead, if that would be better.
Okay, 4 minutes of Q&A works.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Latif.
This is Latif Jackson. I just want to ask a quick question. Great presentation. What would you say, you know, games, at least in my experience, teaching games have been around for quite a while, and it's hard to get a sense of what your core competitive advantage is. Could you kind of summarize that compared to what is on the market now?
Sure. So this is where our value proposition goes into play. And this is a great question about games. So there's always been this challenge between games and learning, and games is heavily discovery. So the problem with game is that it might take a longer time for some students to discover the outcome more so than others. So what we try to do is we use a gamified learning approach where there's some instructions and there's some discovery to make sure that they meet these learning goals within a time period. So in terms of a value proposition, the way we compare ourselves to some of the competitors out there, they are these competitors that focus on large enrollment courses, such as Top Hat, PackPack, and they focus on reducing administrative hassle, but they don't have the content that focus on critical thinking and teamwork skills. And those are the simulation companies, such as MikeSpax and CapSim. But with those, you know, they don't, you know, that one is legacy content, and they don't go beyond just the simulation. So if you from our value proposition is that, one, we help them meet their learning goals, and we help them meet their learning goals at scale.
Thank you.
Tarsha, this is Neeti. I have a question. Why a fee to the student, and why not integrate the business model where you're asking, like the educators are already charging like some business course, right? So why not integrating it within the, what is the advantage one versus the other?
No, that's a good question, and that seemed like that's where it's going to head. So the I guess the challenge here is, the challenge here is that should the school pay or should the students pay? And ultimately, the students will pay either through they pay when they take the course or they pay through admission. And we think that's going to head towards where they pay towards admission. What we're doing, how we position ourselves is that we are the alternative to the textbook. So instead of them paying hundreds of dollars for content to help them meet their learning goals, they're paying somewhere between $20 to $40 to help them meet their learning goals. And also on the selling side, professors, they make decisions very quickly. So the sales time, the lead time is, much faster. And in terms of what the product needs to be, it doesn't have to be so refined if you're going to the program level. So there's pros and cons, but these are some of the reasons why we go towards and we approach the professor and we use the textbook model where students pay.
We have about 1 minute left for.
Sorry, Diane. Can we talk a little bit about content creation? Where's the content coming from? And is content transferable from one university group to another? So you've got these great beachheads. Can you share content across, or does each university want to basically, or professor want to create their own content? How is that done?
No, it's actually, we chose undergrad. It's the same content. The high level answer is the same content for Intro to Business course, not only just across the US, in Canada, in Latin America, same content is covered. If you go to the MBA level, then that's where you want customization. But when you go to the very basic level of what they need to learn, we went through every single syllabus. Well, not every single syllabus, but we've seen enough pattern that it's the same thing. And there's 3 things: system thinking, critical thinking, and teamwork skills.
And we will have to wrap up there. Thank you, Tarsha.
Thank you.
You're muted, Amy.
Amy, you're muted.
Oh no. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so next up we have Tonsil Tech. Sydney Quinton Cox Forbes will be presenting today. Tonsil Tech is creating a family of devices to safely remove tonsil stones.
Tonsil stones?
Hi, Sydney.
Hi.
This is Carrie.
Perfect. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Hello, I'm Sydney, the co-founder and CEO of Tonsil Tech, a medical device e-commerce company on a mission to help the hundreds of millions of people who suffer from tonsil stones globally. Tonsil Tech was an early stage competition winner at the 2021 Venture Conference, and we've been growing rapidly since we started selling 6 months ago. We also just raised $100K in seed funding this month to help us grow even faster. If you don't have your tonsils and you've never heard of tonsil stones, that's not a surprise, because in the late 1970s, doctors stopped performing routine tonsillectomies on children. So most young people have tonsils, which have naturally occurring pits and grooves that collect junk, like food, mucus, and bacteria, and calcify in a little chunk called tonsil stones. These stones are reoccurring and have a pungent sulfur smell. They feel uncomfortable, and wow, are they hard to get out. In short, tonsil stones cause a really bad breath, so people are embarrassed, and it's a gross problem. So we don't openly
my
talk
oldest one had 8
about it. Now, tonsil stones are kind of like erectile dysfunction, an embarrassing problem you wouldn't openly talk about to your friends, coworkers, and family, but damn does your significant other want you to do something about it. My co-founder, Jesse, and I experienced tonsil stones firsthand, and when we couldn't find a solution, we decided to use our bioengineering backgrounds to make one. My experience is in oral care medical device manufacturing, 3D printing, and pharmaceutical manufacturing in the Bay Area. And Jesse's background is in process engineering for medical device components such as sutures and contact lens solutions. We also teamed up with our third co-founder, Daniel, who's been leading marketing teams at Bay Area startups for the past 6 years in B2C e-commerce and B2B SaaS. Now, our goal is to share our tonsil stone solutions with the world. Our biggest frustration with tonsil stones is that there is no good way to remove them from the delicate tonsil tissue. And trust me, we've tried them all. You wouldn't ask your kid to brush their teeth with a hairbrush, but we were forced to remove our tonsil stones with ear cleaners, water flossers, pimple poppers, you name it. And these options don't do a good job. They just leave your tonsils feeling sore and you feeling extremely frustrated with the process because these tools were designed for a completely different purpose. And the parts are either too short, too sharp, too powerful, and the tip, well, it doesn't actually capture the tonsil stone to help you get it out of your mouth. Now, a lot of people have tonsil stones, and we want people to know that they are definitely not alone. Based on over 15 scientific studies of X-ray and CT scans from around the world, conservatively, about 10% of the global population gets tonsil stones. And our target market is people who know they have tonsil stones and want a solution, which is about 13 million in the US and 300 million globally. We founded TonsilTech to address this growing problem. Our 3D printed tools with patent pending technology were specifically designed for tonsil stones. The 3 tips are actually the correct sizes for tonsil pit openings and have concave loops, which create additional surface area. So when the tool is inserted into the tonsil pit and twisted, the stone is easily captured in that loop and fully removed from the mouth. We also include a suction cup mirror light to help see the tonsils and a safety wrist strap. Now our customers can painlessly remove tonsil stones in 30 seconds instead of 30 minutes of frustration and throat jabbing in front of the bathroom mirror. But most importantly, our customers get their confidence back. And our customers love us. We've received an overwhelming amount of positive feedback from customers, thanking us for helping stop the source of their extreme self-consciousness and have even called our products life-changing. Tonsil stones are a recent and growing problem in the US affecting young people, which is why there are no dominant players or products in the market. There are a couple sketchy Amazon sellers marketing products as tonsil stone solutions by offering repurposed tools like earwax removers, syringes, pimple poppers, dental picks, and water flossers. But these don't work well, and they aren't safe either. Then you have complex daily mouthwashes, which are time consuming and quite expensive. And at the end of the day, they don't remove the tonsil stones when you need it most. So at TonsilTech, we designed our tools to be easy to use, risk-free, and effective. We are currently selling a direct-to-consumer on our website, tonsiltech.com. We acquire customers through paid ads on social media sites like Facebook and Instagram, paid and organic search on Google and Bing, Google Shopping, and email marketing, and we currently have 3 product offerings. The full Tonsivix kit for $39, which comes with 2 tools with safety wrist straps, a suction cup mirror light, and a storage pouch. And we also have our 3-pack for $30, which comes with 3 tool sizes and safety wrist straps. And then we also have our single/refill size for $15. And we just started selling in late July 2021, and we've sold over 1,700 units to date with about $50K in revenue, with $16K from January alone. And we've been growing on average about 70% month over month. We also have an absurdly low product return rate of 1.5%, which is well below industry standards. So we must be doing something right. Now, we want to own the tonsil stone market. So when people think tonsil stones, they think TonsilTech. Our vision is to be the dominant tonsil stone company, which we will accomplish by expanding our channels into physical retail like CVS and Target and doctor's offices, and to provide a complete line of tonsil stone solutions in the future.
1 minute.
So far, we have bootstrapped TonsilTech with founder investments of $35K and $8K from grants and pitch awards. We just raised $100K in seed funding on SAFE from Portland Seed Fund and Onami, and we're currently in the final diligence process for another $60K. we're looking for additional investors to join on for our seed round, and we're keeping our safe terms open up to 300K to help us grow faster with marketing, improve margins by getting new injection molding, and ordering inventory to keep up with demand. And we look forward to growing Tonsil Tech right here in Oregon. So please visit our website and contact us if you're interested in investing or just want to chat about tonsil stones. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you at the awards tonight.
All right, judges.
Sydney, I'll go. So I have no idea because none of my family members, I've never had experience in this. So I'm going to ask a probably very amateur question. So if I think about tonsil, right, I would think of going to a doctor's office. Probably people go there and get it removed. But this is direct to consumer, right? So did you do any investigation or some kind of a customer dialogue where you saw that there is people want to use it directly rather than going to a doctor's office?
Yes, absolutely. So when we chatted with customers, we were trying to figure out what are they currently doing. And a lot of them were removing them at home because it just wasn't realistic to be going to the doctor's office on a weekly basis to have their tonsil stones removed. So that's why you see people using their fingers, bobby pins, water flossers, you name it. They're really trying to be creative so that they don't have to go to the doctors for that option.
Sydney, it's Diane. Good presentation. Two questions. One is, where are you manufacturing the product? And the second is, do you have a product roadmap that goes beyond the tonsil stones?
Thank you, Diane. So when it comes to where we're manufacturing, we manufacture in the United States. We use my background in 3D printing to help get us to market very quickly and efficiently. That's one of the reasons why we're looking to switch to injection molding to bring our costs down. But we've been able to prove what we're doing in the market with our sales, which has been awesome. And then when it comes to our product roadmap, once we've really solidified on some of the different tools that we're doing right now, and we get into different channels first, then we'll start to explore some other areas with water irrigation techniques, some different mouthwashes. We have a few different spaces that we can really expand into and be there for our customers in that oral care space.
Thank you.
Hi, great presentation. This is Latif. Do you have a sense of what the profit margin is? I didn't quite catch that.
Thank you, Latif. Right now, our margins are small because we're doing the 3D printing. So the cost per part is pretty expensive because it's based on the Z-axis. In the future, we see ourselves being able to get the cost per part down to about 50 cents. And so we'll see a much more significant margin in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will have to wrap up there. So thank you, Sydney.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sydney. So that wraps up our early stage category. Thank you to all the presenters from Instinct Environmental, Market Games, and Tonsil Tech. They all did a really great job. So let's give them all a round of applause for all three companies in the seed category. Next, we are moving on to the clean tech category. As a reminder, the clean tech finalists are Comfort IQ, Leapfrog Design, and Pollen Systems Corporation. So Comfort IQ, you're up next. Comfort IQ is solving the problem of energy waste and tenant comfort. Being in the commercial real estate business, this is right down my alley. So Comfort IQ, if you want to take the screen.
I think I did already. So can you guys see my screen? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Amy. Yep. Thank you, Amy. Hi, everybody. My name is John. I'm the founder and CEO of Comfort IQ. We are a prop tech company that is solving the last mile problem for HVAC systems in large office buildings with our room by room control system that uses room by room predictive analytics to save energy and finally fixes that hot office, cold office problem that Amy was describing. Our technology has it's been completed. We have our first paying customers, and we're now working on scaling our sales with our land and expand strategy. So commercial buildings are wasting at least half of their energy heating and cooling unoccupied spaces, and it's because the HVAC system that runs for the entire building, regardless of occupancy, That means that they're using the same amount of energy to heat and cool a building that used to be only 50% occupied before the pandemic and is now only 10 to 30% occupied during the pandemic. And it's the same HVAC system that is the cause of that hot office, cold office problem that everyone has experienced. In the USA alone, this represents about 600 million tons of CO2 emitted unnecessarily into the environment, about 130 million cars. So what we do is we add a motor to the existing manual balancing damper that's present in every office to control the airflow. We also add our proprietary sensor to every room to collect 6 different points of data for our room by room occupancy and room by room temperature models. It's basically like having a Nest in every office. We are doing this today in our customers' buildings, and we're saving well over 50% of the HVAC energy in spaces where we are installed. Another great feature about our system is that it is an easy and flexible add-on to HVAC systems because it can be installed in any number of offices, conference rooms, and open workspaces. And because it's an add-on to and works with all of the major building management systems. So you don't need to wipe and replace anything. This is data from that we completed 2 years ago. The orange line is the probability of occupancy. The blue lines are the energy savings. As the probability of that room being occupied goes down, we allow the temperature to vary as much as plus or minus 6 degrees. As the probability of that room being occupied goes up, we narrow that temperature range to within a couple degrees. And when the space is occupied, we give that person their own preferred temperature. Our system is much more complex than this, but this is just a real simple illustration to show you how it works at the most basic level and to show you how we are able to provide real comfort and deep energy savings through our data and analytics. So this is our most recent installation that we finished for the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. Their problem was that their energy use on the HVAC did not go down during COVID, even though their offices were basically empty. I'm sure Amy's customers know some of this as well. So we installed in the offices, enclosed offices and the conference rooms first, which was about 1/3 of the total space. And we have meter data that shows over 30% in HVAC energy savings. This is equivalent to a drop in HVAC energy of over 90% in the spaces where we are installed, has a payback of less than 3 years. And yes, part of it is due to COVID. We expect that number to go down a little bit once we achieve full occupancy. But now we are working on phase 2 of the project with them, which covers the open space work environments. And we're also working on getting into their rebate programs. So the reason why the building owners like us is because we're lowering their operating costs. We're helping them to meet the sustainability regulations and making their tenants and employees much more comfortable. But we are not just a company that opens and closes dampers. There's a lot of those around. We're actually a software company that's collecting a lot of data about the inside of a building. And we are using that data, our machine learning models and our software to deliver real world changes in the working environment through our smart hardware. Very similar to what companies like Ring and Tesla are doing, except they're doing it for cars and doorbells, and we're doing it for the HVAC systems. So if I were to get a question about the competitive advantage, it is this data, our machine learning models, and our software. That's our IP. So our team has over 55 years of combined experience in the commercial real estate industry, spread across technology, sustainability, and HVAC. And this experience that has been able to create the exact product that our customers are looking for. We know our competitive landscape very, very well. And we are compared with 75F the most because our technology sounds similar, but they serve a different market because they're targeting commercial buildings without a building management system because they are a building management system. So that means that they're competing against the Honeywells and the Johnson Controls of the world. We are an add-on to those same systems. We're also different because their customers are the smaller buildings and our customers are the large office buildings, something that you would traditionally find in the downtowns of all the major cities. The traditional companies in the second column are not working on this problem. Please ask me if you're curious. There's several reasons, but we are actually expecting to partner up with them and possibly be acquired by them in the near future. In fact, we had a meeting with Johnson Controls this morning. There are dozens of other companies in the third column that are trying to solve similar issues of tenant comfort and energy efficiency. None of them are doing the damper control and the room by room control software and the room by room predictive analytics that we have. And in fact, we can actually work alongside those systems for additional energy savings. The companies on the left are paid pilots and projects that we've already completed to prove product market fit. Companies on the right are companies that we are working with today that are in some phase of our sales pipeline. All of those companies that you see represent dozens, if not hundreds of projects each. And they are how we are going to scale in this market, basically with a land and expand strategy.
1 minute.
There's a lot of industry tailwinds. There are 25 states that have passed some kind of carbon reducing regulations for commercial buildings. Some are like New York that are going to start fining buildings. The $1 estimated to be $1 per square foot per year starting in 2024. And it is these regulations that is turning our product from something that our customers want into something that our customers need. There's a lot of commercial buildings in the USA and across the world. I'll just leave it at that. We're raising $750,000 at a $6 million pre-money. We've already raised 1.3. We have a hard stop at 1.5. I have $350,000 of my own money in this company. We're using this money to hire some employees, and we're 1,000% focused on sales and marketing to achieve our $3 million in revenue that we have as a goal for this year. Thank you.
Perfect, right on time.
Yep.
Judges?
Great presentation. Hey, John, it's Diane. Great presentation. 2 questions for you. One is, you consider yourself an add-on. Can you talk a little bit about where the integration points are in terms of where you're layering in as an add-on, and specifically where the data sharing is in those integration points, number one. And number two, why aren't you trying to raise more money?
Let me talk about the add-on portion. What we're doing is we're integrating, we have a connection from our sensors to the VAV boxes, if you're familiar with HVAC systems, and we take over that VAV box when our system is on. I can go into it in much more detail. Just know that our system does works alongside building management systems. We do have future plans to do closer integration with building management systems, meaning on their servers on site. But for now, our low-hanging fruit or our MVP, I don't want to call it MVP because it's working, but our first version just connects to that VAV box. The data portion, can I ask about, I forgot, you asked what the data portion was?
Specifically in the data sharing. I mean, you own all the data, or are you sharing data on those integration points?
I plan to share the data. So our customers want the data. We're talking to Gensler right now. And the reason why is they want our data for their modeling. They want better modeling of their buildings for energy efficiency and just other things. And we have the most granular data about the building. And so we just got an email from Alfonso this morning. We're going to do a pilot in one of their Texas offices so they can start working with us and get a taste for the data that they want. And actually that meeting this morning with JCI as well was really surrounding the data portion for them. For us, it's about solving these real life issues in commercial buildings, but we have a lot of customers that are interested in that data. But yes, planning on sharing, planning on doing a lot more with that data. Way too much to explain in the couple minutes that we have here. Why am I not raising more this year? Because I think that this year we're gonna break out. So I will be raising significantly more. We're doing, we've raised about 1.5. I plan to raise probably closer to about $10 million at the end of this year or the beginning of next year. We are working out all of the supply chain issues, working out exactly how we, sell the customer. We just finished our MSRP pricing for distribution, for example, and basically just setting up the infrastructure so that we can start going nationwide through a lot of the partners that I showed you in an earlier slide.
We have about 20 seconds. We can do one very quick, short question.
All right, great job, John. This is Latif. My question, you mentioned a little bit about exit strategy. Could you give us 10 seconds more about that, about a potential acquirer, or what's the exit?
Sure. Potential acquirers are actually any controls companies such as Johnson Controls, Honeywell, and Siemens. What we're also finding is that the ESCOs, the energy service companies that install energy efficiency technology into buildings, we're getting a lot of interest from them actually, and they're actually going to be they're the ones that are going to be taking us. So we have the largest electrical equipment distributor in the world that is doing a pilot with us because they want to take us to their 200 ESCO customers. The ESCO industry is a huge industry if you look it up on Google.
And we will
So-
have to stop there.
Yep. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Really interesting. All right, so let's move on to Leapfrog Design, who is developing recycling systems for home builders and building owners. Please share your screen. All right. And as a reminder, you have 7 minutes.
Thanks, Amy. Well, I'm Adam Behir, CEO of Leapfrog Design, and in an era of growing water scarcity, we use technology inspired by nature to provide natural water abundance for high-performance homes. Solving water scarcity is an urgent problem. Reservoirs across the US and around the world are drying up, as seen at Lake Oroville in California, where the trees mark the former shoreline, or at Detroit Lake here in Oregon, where several docks are sitting high and dry. By 2020, most of the world's population will be facing extreme water scarcity, and the US will be one of the countries hardest hit. So we've got a water problem, and it's no secret, and climate change is making things worse. The price of water is going up faster than electricity, natural gas, groceries, even gasoline. What will it cost me in 10 years, in 30 years, and how are people going to afford this? And who is paying the price today? Well, as regulations change and water prices go up, home builders are spending more and more to meet strict water efficiency standards that governments are putting in place. And at the same time, homeowners are looking for ways to keep their current lifestyles, but ditch the high costs and the guilty feelings of high water use. There are roughly 1 million new homes built each year, and the builders are looking for water efficiency solutions that add real comfort and value to homes, not just extra costs. Fortunately, there is an opportunity to solve this problem for the housing industry, and it's on-site water reuse. So you collect gently used water from sinks, showers, and washing machines, it's known as gray water. You clean the gray water with a household treatment system and reuse it for toilet flushing and irrigation. But what have the options been for home builders and homeowners who want a gray water treatment system? Well, unfortunately, they've had to pick between the high-tech or the homemade, either expensive technical monstrosities that hide in your basement and cost an upward 25 grand, or unreliable and unsafe contraptions that ruin your yard. Neither work, one is too expensive, and the other is a liability. Well, I'm Adam, and along with my co-founder, Nicholas Soon, we've used our expertise in ecological systems design to create a better product for on-site water reuse. And as nationally recognized designers, we have been building outstanding project teams over the past 4 years, transforming R&D milestones into a product people love. And with our training as landscape architects, we have designed a smart solution inspired by nature. With grants from the EPA and the National Science Foundation, we've created the first truly green gray water treatment technology. It's powered by the biological systems of natural wetlands and the purifying properties of volcanic soils, just like an artesian spring. And our plant-based system looks like a beautiful planter and recycles gray water for irrigation and toilet flushing. It's effective, affordable, and beautiful. It's the water reuse solution that adds real comfort and value to high-performance homes, and homeowners are proud to show off. It's installed adjacent to the home with a small gray water collection tank. From the collection, the water is pumped through our patent-pending treatment technology and is ready for reuse. And not only does our system provide a home more than 100 gallons of reuse water each day, its beautiful appearance can be used to enhance the outdoor living experience of any home. In addition to our innovative product, we provide a fully managed business solution that includes the treatment hardware, which is efficient, affordable, and beautiful, and the monitoring and control software that optimizes efficiency, tracks water savings, and detects problems. We also provide a maintenance service based on an annual contract and served by licensed professionals who provide the preventative maintenance so homeowners never have to worry about a thing. It's simple. Our expertise in monitoring and control systems is sought out by leaders in the water sector, and we will maintain this competitive advantage with our ongoing support from the National Science Foundation and our US patents and trade secrets. Today's home builders need easy and cost-effective ways to get green building certifications like WaterSense and National Green Building Standard. These certifications mean larger loans and lower interest rates from Fannie and Freddie. And home buyers are looking for these labels guaranteeing low costs of ownership. Along with market pull, federal and state legislation restricting water use will also drive adoption. So California has already passed legislation capping home water use. And municipalities are across the West are requiring separate gray water plumbing and on-site treatment systems in new construction and offering rebates for remodels. With our technology, home builders are able to meet strict water efficiency regulations and get their certifications. This opens up access to new projects to otherwise closed projects in water scarce regions and reduces development costs by millions of dollars because we're lowering water and sewer connection fees. And the new homeowner lowers their monthly bills by $50 because they're using 40% less water each month, and they get to keep their green yards. The market for on-site gray water treatment is vast, both domestically and across the globe. In a few months, we'll be launching our first commercial pilots here in Oregon and then moving on to California. To scale quickly, we have built key strategic partnerships. The 6th largest US home builder, KB Home, leads WaterSense labeled home construction, and their VP of Sustainability and Innovation is eager to be our first high volume customer. With our manufacturing and distribution partner, Orenco, we are ready to deliver on this scaled up demand. We've raised over $1.3 million in non-dilutive funding and over $250K in equitable investment. We've also conducted more than 150 customer discovery interviews as we've churned out technical milestones and filed our provisional patent protecting this technology. And I'm thrilled to say we are 1 year ahead of schedule with our product launch, with roughly $350,000 in our sales pipeline for this year. We are a high revenue potential company, and home builders will drive earnings with repeat and bulk sales. We have a diversified funding plan to accelerate large scale impact. But this is just the beginning for us. We are now partnering with Richards Rainwater to improve their monitoring, control, and telemetry system, and they're going to open up commercial opportunities with us as we explore adjacent markets like car washes. We're looking for smart money, top tier VCs and individuals who actively engage in advising as we add team members and grow our team. We are so excited to share this green to gray revolution with you, this gray to green revolution with you, and thank you for your time. Thanks, panelists and judges.
Thanks, Adam.
Adam, I have a very quick question about your revenue stream. Is the model hardware plus software plus maintenance? That has to be, or is it something maintenance like RMA type, or?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so is, when somebody's buying it, right, they would be buying hardware plus software plus maintenance service, like annual, you're expecting an annual, or
yeah, so
they just do a hardware and as needed maintenance?
So the hardware will be sold to the home builder or the homeowner, and then the monitoring and software, the monitoring and control software is included in that package and will be billed annually. With the certification like NSF 350, a 2-year service contract will be included, and then we'll have the opportunity to be renewed after that. Does that answer your question?
Hi, it's Diane. It's obviously a really important space at this time. I'm confused. I'd love to know a little bit more about the monetization model. So you just answered the question as to how it's built, but how did you come up with the pricing? I mean, where are you still testing it?
We're still testing it. It's value-based and price skimming at this point. So our COGS are really low, but our competitors' prices are really high. And so we want to make sure that we price ourselves not as a value product, but as a luxury product in the beginning. So with these early market pilots, we're going to be at about $4,000 a piece to make sure that we cover our costs and some of these in-kind purchases. And then as we go into the kind of eco-elite home builders over the next few years, it's going to be more like $9,000 a piece to make sure that we get that luxury feel. But our big market opportunity is in the production builders. And that's where we are going to really scale and drive big revenue. And that's that $6,000 price point, which is really, it's just hard. Our competitors can't touch that.
Right. Okay, thanks.
I have time for one more question, about 40 seconds.
Can you give just a quick comparable of other competition that's close to you? You said they're more expensive, but what is sort of, what technology are they using, or how they, you know, can you give me a little more differentiation between the two?
Yeah, so one of the main differentiators between our technology and others, besides the fact that it's less expensive and more effective, because we don't have these over-engineered systems that require regular maintenance and lead to constant failures, is that our system isn't inside the building envelope. When you have a treatment system inside the building envelope, it creates really big operations and maintenance problems because the homeowners will always stop maintaining it without fail. So when you have the system outside of the building envelope, it opens up this opportunity for a service contract. You can easily service a client with local, just landscape contractors that have the know-how to be able to do the plumbing and pruning of a system like this.
And we'll have to stop there.
Thank you, Adam. Great presentation.
Thank you.
All right, so moving on to the final pitch in the clean tech category is Pollen Systems Corporation. Pollen Systems is helping farmers manage crop growth and vitality by incorporating data collection from drones, fixed-wing aircraft, IoT sensors, and mobile device applications. We are looking forward to learning more. Sounds like a lot from Mother Nature.
Thank you very much, Amy. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, loud and clear.
Perfect. Did you know that 40% of the world's land surface is farmland? And did you also know that to meet the world's food needs in 2050, we need to improve crop yield globally by 50%? To us, pollen represents data, visible and invisible, that pervades crops around the world. Pollen Systems harvest that data, turning it into actionable insight that helps farmers deliver better crops and higher yields. We're here to raise $2 million on a $10 million pre-money valuation. I've got a great team. My background is a serial entrepreneur. I've built and sold 2 companies. One was sold to Avanade, one to Pitney Bowes. Trina's been with me for over 10 years now as my director of integration in multiple different companies. My background, I had 15 years prior to that in Microsoft, IBM, and Lotus. And I've built a good team with Drew Falabella here in Bellevue, Washington, and also Christian down in our subsidiary in Chile, who have extensive background in agriculture and in big businesses. As a company, our goal is to drive measurable global impact. How do we do that? Well, we collect data from multiple different methods in the farm. We fly drones with near-infrared sensors and thermal cameras to capture things that the eye can't see in the field. Those drones basically pick up information. We translate that information into actionable insight that helps us inform farmers how to measurably improve their crop yield and quality. We also collect data from other sources, manual information collected from the ground, from the farmers themselves, and IoT devices that might be available in the fields. So we can actually show farmers the things that they need to do to create impact. We can accelerate water conservation by pointing out places in the field where they're overwatering or underwatering for that perspective. We can reduce fertilizer and pesticide utilization by identifying areas to spot apply rather than to blanket apply fertilizer and pesticide on a global basis. And we can improve nutrient application by working with natural biostimulants companies, which can actually find ways to actually impact farms without putting too much fertilizer and pesticide on them. Here's an example of one of the fields that we're flying over right now. This is in Yuba City, California. It's roughly 40 acres of a nursery, and that's 48,000 plants. That's something we can do that no one else can do. is that when we fly over these crops, when we ingest the data, we can actually identify on an individual per plant basis which plants are growing well and which plants need improvement. We can reduce costs by up to 50% by optimizing the use of pesticides, fertilizer, and water. We've proven that we can improve yield by that individual plant monitoring I talked about, which is patented with the 2 patents on the bottom of the screen. And we can help with block uniformity, improving the quality of the crops. Overall, by impacting pests, by addressing diseases, by addressing water leaks, we can improve quality and crop yield on a global basis. We started in vineyards, including in Washington and Oregon. We expanded rapidly to California. We operate in Chile. We've done trials in Peru and South Africa. And we now address over 20 different crops, from wine grapes to stone fruit, apples, blueberries, raspberries, and citrus fruits. Our customers include high-value crop companies, Eastern Washington, Seven Hills Vineyard, Kramer Farms in the Willamette Valley, and a number of other folks who are looking to figure out how to improve their crop yield. At a price point of $15 per acre per season, we provide them detailed analytics and store data for our customers. And then on a per flight basis, we charge $15 per acre per flight at a minimum of 50 acres, ranging anywhere from 50 acres to 4,000 acres in some of our customers in Chile. Our nursery customers are growing rapidly. Sierra Gold Nurseries has over 1 million plants being monitored by us. And recently we've engaged with global biostimulants companies like Stoller, which has presence in 17 different countries as subsidiaries, and 50 additional ones where they're applying nutrients and pesticides to address farm problems. We can help them identify and address where to apply those nutrients to optimize the growth of the farms. In terms of our individual plant analysis, many people have done in the past macro-based analysis. We do micro-analysis. Every single plant has a name, and every single plant can be helped in terms of their growth pattern by optimizing the use of nutrients and fertilizers. In terms of competition, there are other folks who are out there right now, which are very, very well funded. Some, like Semios, provide moisture sensors. By contrast, we're non-intrusive, so we can actually show up at the farm, fly our drones, and give actionable insight without having to deploy moisture sensors in the field. Other fixed-wing flyovers do non-intrusive flyovers, but they do macro-level analysis. They can't get down to the per-plant level that we can do. The company has been operating for 4 years now. We've started bouncing cash flow positive in the last year. We've got great gross margins and renewal rates for our customers, and we have a recurring revenue stream as our customers sign up year after year. Right now, for next year, we're at 100% renewal rate. In terms of the agricultural space in general, there's been multiple exits, 100 million, 300 million, 300 million to John Deere, and then recently Bear Flag Robotics for 250 million. So there is appetite to purchase companies like us.
1 minute.
Today, we're here raising $2 million on a 10 million pre-money valuation. We're looking to expand on what we did pre-COVID and get back into Peru and South Africa, where we had to abandon about 1.5 years ago, and also into other countries. We just received a request for over 2,000 hectares to be bid on in Mexico. We have multiple different, probably 90 different sites that we're going to be working on with Stoller in the coming year. And great opportunity to continue that growth on a global basis. We need some help on sales and marketing to grow globally. We want to invest in development, and we want to continue our rapid growth over the past couple of years. Thank you for your time.
Perfect. Right on time. Judges?
I'll go first if no one's talking. Hey, Keith, it's Diane Freeman. So let's just talk about the solution a little bit. So I assume that you're using off-the-shelf, which drones are you using for this?
We're typically using DJI drones,
right?
That are now commercially off the shelf available. And actually, we're not producing our own drones.
Right, that's
We're
a
actually
good
finding
answer.
contract drone flyers on a global basis.
Yeah, so that's a good answer. So what are you adding to the drones to basically be able to capture the data? Talk a little bit more about the actual technology that's capturing the data and how that's occurring.
Yeah, 4 years ago, we had to pull together our own drones. Now, as I said, they're commercially off the shelf available. And those drones have near infrared cameras, as well as in some cases, thermal cameras that help us capture information beyond what the eye can see. So we see essentially the growth of the plant through analyzing the chlorophyll content in the leaves themselves. When we fly over, we collect that information, we upload it, well, the drone flyer uploads it to our network operations center. We then crunch that data, our backend analytics crunch the data and turn around the results of that action within 24 hours.
Thank you.
This is Latif. Thanks for your presentation. My question, I guess, is for farms that are in remote locations, how do you deal with sort of disconnectivity? And then what is, you were saying it's within 24 hours. Is that enough time for them to address issues, you know, with droughts and things like that we're seeing? What is the turnaround time, that kind of minimum that farmers really need?
So we typically hire a drone flyer that is nearby the farm. Sometimes they have to drive as much as 200 to 300 miles to get there, but that is possible. They get to the farm, and for 100 acres, they fly 100 acres at about an hour at a time. So if you're looking at 400 acres, they need to spend 4 hours out there. They collect the data, and then they need to find some sort of network access so they can upload that data to us. Okay. Once that data is uploaded to us, we then can do all the detailed analysis, and we're getting faster and faster in a purely automated fashion to return the results back to the farmer that can allow them to address issues. 24 hours is plenty to identify that a field has been underwatered and there's impact on the field, or there's areas where there have been irrigation challenges, or to analyze the impact of the fertilizers that you've applied last week. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think it does. It was just sort of, I would imagine these farms in pretty remote locations and trying to understand the logistics around actually getting a device there and actually getting the data back to be processed. So that's great.
So we found that in the last year and a half now, we can source a drone flyer pretty much within 200 miles of almost every, I'd say, major region throughout the United States, throughout South America. Obviously, in some parts of Africa right now, that would be more difficult to get to. But as technology adoption grows, as the price of these drones, which are now down to only $6,500 from $20,000, which they were a few years ago, as that price goes down to $1,000, it'll be an easily accessible resource that we can apply on a global basis.
We will have to stop there.
All right, thanks, Keith. Great job.
Thanks very much.
All right, so we're halfway through and we're going to take a short break so everyone can go grab something to eat, say hi to your family, and we will be back in 10 minutes. So see you all soon. All right, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. Hopefully you're able to fire off a few emails, grab a quick bite to eat. Well, we're going to move on to the final pitches. The last two categories are life science and software tech enabled. So let's proceed on to the life science category. This is the category that we had the most applications in. So it was really difficult to pick just 3 finalists. So we have 4 for this category. The 4 competing companies are Biomodem, Novusun Surgical, Potomac, and Rewire Neuro. So to start us off, please welcome Ray Browning with Biomodem, who is building intelligent robotic exoskeletons to address the increasing number of people with poor health due to difficulty walking. Hopefully, Ray, you can do a lot better than I just did.
Wow, Amy, I'm gonna let you take over for sure. Great, thank you very much. Thanks a lot. I'm Ray Browning, CEO and co-founder of Biomotum. And throughout my professional life, I've focused on understanding and optimizing human movement. And as an athlete, academic, and innovator, I've come to realize that human movement is really a key to unlocking human potential. Most of us never even think about walking, but for individuals with impaired mobility, walking can be difficult, if not impossible. While there are many caregivers and patients working tirelessly to improve their mobility, they're using methods that are often very inefficient or tools that are ineffective. We think it's time to change that. Biomotum is a mobility company, and we're building wearable robots to empower movement by energizing every step. Our overall roadmap is we're starting with a focus on children with cerebral palsy, expanding to other individuals with neurological conditions, primarily stroke. We'll then tackle the healthy aging market, and finally offer our solution to any individuals that would like to be more physically active. We've developed the Biomotum Spark, which is our robotic ankle assistant. It produces life-changing improvements in mobility, which you'll see in a moment. It also, by assisting individuals, can lead to independence in activities of daily living, which is key for these individuals' health and outcome. And our app delivers both biofeedback and remote patient monitoring to allow people to optimize their mobility. In this video, this is a child with cerebral palsy who's walking prior to using the Spark device. And you can see his walking speed is approximately 1.1 mile per hour. For context, that is not fast enough to get across an intersection in a public street. After only 12 visits, 4 weeks, using our device 3 times a week, he has dramatically and significantly improved his walking speed, energy to walk, and the mechanics of walking. And we've replicated this finding in over 50 participants aged 5 to 85 in a number of neurological conditions. We're really excited about the possibilities of this technology. There are 32 million people in the United States who have difficulty walking. That number worldwide is in the billions. There are 1 million of those are children. They suffer from conditions such as cerebral palsy, stroke, arthritis, and aging. We believe that the total addressable market is approximately 18 billion. The neurological market is about 2 billion, and we aim to capture a market share of approximately 76 million in the first 5 years. We have a great team with over 70 years of rehab and product experience. As I mentioned, I've done a number of things. Most recently, prior to this company, I was working at Nike in advanced innovation, and we had the pleasure of bringing to the world's fastest marathon running shoe, which was used to break the 2-hour marathon record. Zach is my co-founder, and I'm going to give him the credit for inventing this device. He is a biomedical engineer and a former PhD student in our laboratory and is extraordinarily talented. Phil is a veteran of the exoskeleton industry with 15 years of experience as an early employee in ReWalk. And Steve Jarvis is our designer, award-winning designer in wearable technology with background for Timex and Nike. We've had a great run so far. We've had tremendous support from the National Institute of Health. We have a $2 million NIH SBIR grant. That's actually a fast track grant, which runs for 3 years. We were fortunate enough to receive that grant on our first submission. That's allowing us to partner with world's best clinical trials partners. Gillette Children's and the Shirley Ryan Ability Lab are our 2 clinical trials partners, and they are the #1 and #2 places in the world for the treatment of cerebral palsy. We're able to sell our research systems now for revenue, and we've sold systems and generated approximately $50,000 in revenue to date. We have about $500,000 in our sales pipeline. We'll be entering the Canadian market in late 2022. They have a lower regulatory burden in Canada, so it does not require the same level of clearance, allowing us to sell into that market a little sooner. And we've protected our intellectual property through a number of patents. 2 have been issued and 8 are in review. This gives you a little bit of an overview of where we're heading. As I said, we're currently doing research sales. We're planning our strategy for launching into the Canadian market later this year. We've got clinical trials underway. Our go-to-market planning is underway, and we're working on design and validation for larger scale manufacturing. We plan to submit a 510(k) later on in 2022 and launch our product into the US market for treatment of cerebral palsy in the middle of 2023. We have multiple revenue streams. It's a B2B business model where we sell directly to clinics. We can sell hardware, core hardware systems, customized solutions, for example, the intersection with the foot, and then replacement parts. We will offer features to our software in a SaaS model to unlock the remote patient monitoring and feedback features. And then we do services, training for the device, and also continuing education. We plan to build a continuing ed platform on how to use our technology to maximize the outcomes for both patients and providers. Our revenue growth that you see, this is a classic hockey stick growth. The growth later in 2025 and 2026 comes really from two things: an expansion of the indication for use. So we add stroke to our number of conditions that we can treat in addition to CP. And we have an expansion into using the device at home in addition to just in clinic. So that drives revenue growth. We're super excited about this technology. It works indoors and out, and it's life-changing. And we're looking for smart money and mentors to help us bring this technology to market. We're currently raising for a seed round of $1.5 million, and I'd be happy to discuss with you how we can work together. Thank you.
Excellent.
Hey Ray, this is Latif. I really love what you're doing here. It's super exciting. I guess one of the questions I had was, it sounds like you plan to expand the technology, and that'll expand the revenue. And I guess the question is, how do you what size is the results do you need to produce to kind of expand it out? You said 50 patients right now you've helped with the technology. Is that statistically enough for you to get your approvals and stuff to continue to sell? And then would you also have to get additional approvals for those other categories?
Good question. So the answer is that we do need to collect additional clinical data for the FDA, which we're doing now. We're confident that we have what's called the minimally clinically significant difference that the FDA looks for, in particular for children with CP. The bar for stroke is actually a little bit lower because there's a predicate device for stroke that's already been cleared. And so the amount of data that we need for stroke for effectiveness is actually less than CP, but we don't have enough of that data yet to do that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
Ray, just a quick question. How does your B2B sale flow looks like? How do you engage providers, and how do they then check your technology, and then how do you envision sale cycle would look like?
Yeah, it's a great question. So right now we're selling to research universities, and that's essentially a network that we already are really familiar with. When it comes to providers, one of the things that we're relying on is that the researchers that are conducting the research, that's what the providers look for in terms of validation of technology. So our go-to-market strategy is we've identified about 7 key markets in the United States and in Canada where we're going to go to the tier 1 institutions that have the high volume of treatment of CP patients. So we're going to start with those clinics, introduce the technology to them. They've actually been very receptive to it. We've reached out to many of those so far. They tend to be disappointed when they find out that we don't have clearance yet, and have to wait for up to 18 months before they'll be able to actually use it in their clinics.
Hey, Ray, I'm talking to you next week. So
I look forward to it, Diane.
Yep, absolutely. So do I. Good presentation, really important stuff, and I look forward to digging into it further.
Thank you.
Let's wrap up Q&A there then.
Okay. Thanks,
All right.
everybody.
Thanks, Ray.
Yep.
Okay, so moving on to the second presentation in the life science category. We have Novusun Surgical presenting, who is developing the world's first direct therapeutic ultrasound. Please help me welcome Stuart Mitchell. Welcome, Stuart.
Thank you. Let me see if I can figure out how to share my screen. Can everybody see the main presentation screen there?
Yep, looks good.
All right, great. I'm Stu Mitchell. I'm the CEO and founder of Novusun Surgical. Novusun has developed the next generation of advanced energy surgical devices that are safer and more effective than the current technologies. What I have to do is be able to get my slides to advance. There we go. Energy devices are ubiquitous in the surgical arena. The main technologies are radio frequency and harmonic. They are used in about 89% of all surgical procedures. They make surgeries faster, more efficient, but they risk the health and safety of patients and the surgical team. This is what surgeons see when they use current technologies on the market in a laparoscopic procedure. Smoke. This carcinogenic smoke is generated because the current technologies burn and char tissue. The particulates generated from the smoke is so small that the protective equipment the surgeons use don't protect them from the toxic gases, the live bacteria, or the viruses that's contained within the smoke. This has been a problem since these devices were developed, and it continues today. Some companies produce devices that they indicate generate less smoke, but it's still a dominant problem today with the main technologies on the market. You can see they generate viruses and toxins even today. It's not only causing harm to the patients, but also to the operating room staff. The CDC recommends that these technologies actually shouldn't be used, especially during the pandemic. The manufacturers recommend the surgeons use smoke evacuators. That's okay, but research actually shows that compliance is actually very low for these devices, especially in a lot of surgical settings. This affects over 90 million patients per year in North America. Not only is smoke a problem in surgeries, but in general, surgeries have complications. About a third of all surgeries have complications. Half of these are considered avoidable. 3/4 of those are considered due to technical errors. This affects 16 million patients alone just from the complications, which costs the hospital system $215 billion per year. At Novusun, we do things a little different than our competitors. Our direct therapeutic ultrasound is a disruptive novel technology that is safer and more effective than the current technologies. We don't burn or char tissue. We don't put electricity through the patient, and we don't generate carcinogenic smoke. Our technology addresses many of the surgeons' pain points with current technologies. What differentiates Novusun from other technologies is that we use ultrasound energy to weld the tissue together, and then we use a different mode of ultrasound to actually cut the tissue, as opposed to radio frequency, which passes electricity through the patient to cauterize the tissue. They use a mechanical blade to cut the tissue, or the harmonic devices that actually use mechanical vibration to burn through the tissue. We embed transducers in the jaws of our devices. This will be the first 3 millimeter diameter sealer divider on the market, which means we'll have less thermal damage. We have less thermal spread. We don't put electricity in the patient, and we can be used in a wide range of surgical platforms. This is an example of Novusun's technology in use. These are isolated arteries, they're 2 different sizes. You can see we cut right through them. You don't see any smoke, you don't see any burning, and we meet the FDA requirements for burst pressures. Another example in an animal model, this is a gastroepiploid bundle. That's an artery, vein, and a lot of connective tissue. This is a lot of tissue in a 3 millimeter device. You can see that we actually cauterize right through it, and we cut. And what you don't see is a lot of burning or charring or smoke. Novusun's 3 millimeter device can do everything our competitive devices do. We are just smaller. We have less thermal damage. And again, we don't burn or char tissue or generate smoke. Novusun's management has experience in technology, business, finance, product commercialization. Our medical advisory board consists of surgeons and specialties where a 3mm device is desired, such as pediatric, gynecological, and orthopedic surgery. Novoson is currently working on our regulatory filing for our generator and our 3mm device shown on the left here. Once we get regulatory clearance, we will launch that with our key opinion leaders in their specialties of gynecological surgery and pediatric surgery. That's initial accounts this year, just a few initial accounts this year. We will expand in those two areas going into 2013, and then when we launch our 5mm device later in the year, we will expand that into urology. 2024, we'll launch our 10mm device, which will allow us to expand into even more surgical disciplines. Novoson has two revenue streams. Our direct sales use a razor blade business model. The applicator is a disposable single-use device, the sales of which are predicated on how many surgical procedures are performed. The generator is capital equipment, the sales of which are predicated on the number of surgical suites that you can place them in. Our second revenue stream would be through licensing agreement in surgical disciplines such as robotics and endoscopic surgery. Combined, these will give Novoson a $6.4 billion total addressable market. Using this approach, Novoson projects that we can hit $62 million in revenue in 5 years. And this is capturing just less than 1% of the US surgical procedures and about 1% of the US surgical suites.
1 minute.
Novoson has raised $8.9 million, $3.25 million non-dilutive. We've met with the FDA. We have a strategic partner. We've demonstrated our commercial value proposition. We just received 3 patents. We're filed internationally in 6 countries. We've completed our production devices for validation studies. We are currently have a bridge round open to raise $750,000, which will help us complete our regulatory filing for our 3mm device. Companies like Novoson are usually acquired by larger companies like Ethicon and Medtronic. This is an example of companies that are acquired over the last 20 years. Most recent was last year, Just Right Surgical, acquired by Hologic for $160 million. Novoson is
going to have to wrap up there.
Okay, sounds great. Well, thank you for your time.
Stuart, it's Diane Freeman.
Hi, Diane.
Yeah, hi there. Interesting device. I'm curious. I mean, not to get into the whole FDA part. I'm curious to know, therapeutic ultrasound, is being used, I think, in other ways. Why is it taken so long for this, for this part of the market, for this device to come to be? And what's the IP that you've got on the device that is going to help you basically to accelerate into the market?
I love IP questions. So why hasn't HIFU or high intensity ultrasound been in this space? It's mainly because the researchers, and I used to be one of them, are striving for extracorporeal treatment of cancer and bleeding, which, we've had good success in that. A couple companies are treating essential tremors with HIFU now. They have regulatory approval for that. There's a few other indications that have approval for high intensity focused ultrasound, but it's very difficult to get regulatory approval for high intensity focused ultrasound. For our technology, and this was actually discovered during my research of high intensity ultrasound, is it's actually a lot easier to control what you're doing if you put the transducers in direct contact with the tissue, which is how we developed this technology. IP-wise, we have patents. We licensed about half of our patents from the University of Washington. We were just awarded 3 other ones. It basically covers all aspects of our device, from the transducer design to how you use them to the mechanisms that we were able to make a 3mm device where nobody else can.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, this is Latif.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing? One of the questions I had, I think you were talking originally, sort of the big value proposition is around not exposing viruses because of the smoke or other toxins. However, you also mentioned robotics. And so I was robots probably aren't exposed to those concerns. And so I was kind of trying to understand how it's applicable as you move sort of up into that market.
Yeah, no matter what surgical platform you're using, robotic or endoscopic, there's always a surgical team in the OR. And the smoke actually goes into the OR, which affects the entire surgical team. And that's where the spread of viruses is kind of a concern. If a patient has a virus, they already have it, so that's not so much of a concern for the patient, but the patient gets toxins. The value proposition for expanding into that market is actually the flexibility of our transducer technology that enables us to go into fully articulating platforms, where other technologies that have mechanical blades or the harmonic devices that use a fixed waveguide, they can't go into fully articulating systems.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna have to wrap up there.
Great, thank you for your time.
Thanks for sharing your company with us, Stuart.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so next up is Potomac. Potomac has developed a first-in-class AI-powered platform revolutionizing cancer drug development and personalized medicine. Potomac, are you sharing your screen with us? Looks like we might be having some issues.
No, it's not allowing me to share the screen. It says you cannot share while others participant is sharing. Hello.
Can someone help on the back end?
It looks like we're having trouble spotlighting you.
Okay,
Yeah, it's saying that I cannot share.
we'll just hold tight while we figure that out.
Oh, okay, sure.
What if we switch orders and have Rewire go while we figure this out, and then we can have you come back and do the last presentation for this category.
Okay, does that work for everyone?
Yes.
All right, we will move on to Rewire Neuro. They are improving speed, accuracy, and cost of biomedical analysis.
Great. Can you see me all right? Let me share my screen. Got that?
Yes.
All right. Well, before I start, let me apologize for my voice. I'm just getting over a COVID breakthrough this week, so don't recommend it. But great. Yeah, hi, my name is John Harkness. I am the CEO of Rewire Neuro, and I'm going to show you how Rewire is using artificial intelligence to improve the precision of digital pathology with our technology called Cytologist AI. We have a great team making all this happen at Rewire, and in particular, I want to highlight our fantastic leadership and advisory teams with backgrounds in AI, machine learning, business development, biologic sciences, computer sciences, and mergers and acquisitions. At its heart, the problem that we're solving is that accurate diagnoses depend on accurate measurement of biomarkers, and biomedicine currently fails to accurately quantify these disease predictors. As an industry, this costs over or nearly $30 billion annually in wasted R&D spending. Clinicians and researchers use indicators within tissue samples like this brain tissue or this sperm sample to understand disease progression, sort of the same way that stock traders read indicators to understand market trends. The difference here is that detecting and counting cells is a little like trying to count stars in the night sky. Digital pathology as an industry is realizing that machine learning will usher in a new age of diagnostic ability for one simple reason. While it's difficult for people to detect and count things like cells, it's a task well suited for machine learning. The problem is that a lot of pathologists don't want new software programs. They need their current diagnostic devices to have superpowers. At Rewire, we're addressing the need to integrate AI capabilities into diagnostic devices with our cloud-based platform called Cytologist. Cytologist functions a little like Stripe, but for biomedical image analysis. It's a patented machine learning system that receives images from our client API users, processes those images on our AI servers, and returns target predictions to our users in real time. This AI as a service platform is the engine for everything that we do at Rewire, including powering our own researcher-focused software called Pipsqueak. Cytologist also enables us to expand our capabilities beyond Pipsqueak and provide integrated AI as a service to partners in the microscopy and clinical diagnostic markets. Our customers need Cytologist machine learning algorithms because they're capable of delivering 96% more reliable data in 99% less time, which reduces costs for our customers by at least 80%, all by delivering an adaptive computer vision system to our customers whenever and wherever they need it. We began our direct to researcher implementation of Cytologist called Pipsqueak, which is an AI platform for the automatic detection of biomarkers. It learns from experience, and it's used by hundreds of loyal customers at top-notch institutions around the world. But what makes Pipsqueak truly unique is that we're leveraging our skilled users to help us tune and expand our AI capabilities. That means that while the first 4.5 million training objects took us about $1.25 million to develop, the next 45 million will cost us next to nothing and be developed in a matter of weeks. Pipsqueak is driving our early revenue, and we expect to reach 2022 Pipsqueak revenue of around $250,000 and over $7 million by 2026. These plans represent a promising growth trajectory over the next couple of years that's underscored by favorable unit economics in the life science space. Our growth to date has benefited from strong product-led growth and word-of-mouth awareness, which is a good indication for the need of AI in histology. But where we see real potential to grow revenue is through our integration partnerships. And so let's focus on that, where we're going. Developing and serving machine learning algorithms at scale represents a significant technological and capital hurdle. OEM integration of Cytologist helps our partners achieve computer vision capabilities without having to reinvent the wheel. To do that, we've identified multiple partners in the life science and clinical diagnostic spaces, including our first microscopy integration with a partner called Neurescence. From here, we see the potential to develop additional partners, larger partnerships, and enter the clinical diagnostic space. Neurescence is our first chance to demonstrate the power of Cytologist in a partner's product, and we're about to complete a $25,000 partnership with Neurescence to develop AI capabilities specific to their calcium imaging microscope. Our AI provides significant improvements to their offerings, and we anticipate a $2,000 per user per year license fee from Neurescence to use our platform. Tomorrow, we see the potential for Cytologist reach to expand into clinical diagnostics. For example, one avenue for this expansion is with AI capabilities for fertility sample diagnostics that were previously developed and tested by Rewire. We expect this technology could provide real-time, accurate sperm counts and motility analysis in office. We see the potential for Cytologist to drive Rewire's ongoing growth, and we're offering access to the Cytologist platform to partners on an annual license basis of around $200,000 per partner, and we expect to close 3 partnership deals this year and reach combined 2022 revenue of around $800,000 and $14 million by 2026. We estimate the global in vivo diagnostic market at about $84 billion in 2020, and of that, AI-powered diagnostics is worth about $4 billion and growing at an astonishing 32%. Our focus is on capturing 10% of the digital pathology market by 2026, which is possible because of our unmatched biomedical AI platform. Now, many of our competitors in this space are largely providing image analysis capabilities for post-microscopy workflows. What they don't provide is the ability to integrate machine learning and computer vision into diagnostic devices. Rewire is the service provider that makes this integrated AI possible. So by providing the backend AI infrastructure to process images, we see ourselves as being the Stripe of biomedical image analysis. And we're vigorously protecting Rewire's assets in a number of ways. Foremost is that we were recently awarded a patent protecting our system to automatically adapt and train our ML capabilities, and this is huge for us. And I want to highlight that we have a proprietary ML training set not available to our competitors that makes it impossible for them to recreate our models.
1 minute.
The total, we've raised over $2.5 million in funding from our pre-seed round and grant funding. And this year we aim for 1,000 Pipsqueak downloads, converting 20 of them to paying subscribers in Q1, and inking 3 Cytologist partnerships by the end of 2022. And here's how we're going to do it. We're seeking to raise an additional $750,000 in the seed round convertible note that will enable us to focus our growth on enterprise sales of the Cytologist platform. And to do that, we need more full-time developers, enterprise sales reps, and enough runway to reach Series A funding within the next 12 to 18 months. So Rewire is positioned to be the AI leader in a multi-billion-dollar market, and we have the right people and IP to do it. We're developing the future of digital pathology, and you can try it out right now at rewireneuro.com. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Hey,
Open it
John,
up.
it's Diane Freeman. So I hope you're feeling better. You did a good job if you're fighting off the devil here. So can you just dive a little bit more into the monetization model? You've got these dev contracts. You sort of then played the 200,000 per partnership. Can you explain really how are you pricing these? Is it a number of licenses per partnership? Is it how is this working? How do you price it?
Yeah, that's a great question. This partnership that we put together here is based on a number of licenses that their customers are using, and so that's been I think a great way to work with this first company. What we're anticipating going forward as we start to work with maybe some of these more established partners is just a straight licensing fee that would give them access to X number of processing routines for a period of time. And so in that way, I think we'll be able to be a little bit more predictable about what this annual revenue will bring back to us. But at least at this point, this is our estimate on what we'll see.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Sure, I have a question. Great presentation.
Thank you,
John. Based on I guess you mentioned you had a proprietary training set, and I think recently we've seen a number of sort of biases in especially medical data training sets. Do you have a sort of a way that you're handling that based on what you're doing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, at least in terms of the types of data that we're working with, we're, a little bit removed from, the typical like gender or race biases that could result in, predicting behaviors. We're, really just looking at pictures that are, indicative of the stain type or biomarker that are given to us. But, we still have the tendency to, over predict something that's overrepresented in our data set. Our one of the early obstacles we encountered when bringing this to market was that if our AI wasn't trained to detect a target our customers were looking for, it couldn't. And so that's really what started our adaptive ML system. And so now we have the ability for our customers to tweak and tune to specifically what they're looking for, and that helps them overcome any sort of challenges they might have otherwise.
Okay, great. I'd love to follow up later, but yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? I think we might be good. Thank you, John.
All right. Thank you very much.
And we will circle back now to Potomac, and hopefully we worked out those technical issues. All right. I think we're good. Awesome.
Okay, thank you so much. I was wondering what's going on. So I am Rajat Roy, CEO and co-founder of Potomac. It's my great pleasure to be here with you all today. I would like to share with you the huge business opportunity that we are pursuing while addressing the major unmet needs of medical and pharmaceutical industries. We all know that cancer is a heterogeneous disease, and every cancer patient responds differently to a specific treatment. To provide effective treatment, or rather personalized treatment, we have developed a first-in-class AI-powered platform that predicts if a patient will respond to a treatment before starting the treatment. This ensures that the patient receives the right treatment for positive outcome. We also help pharmaceuticals develop new drugs for patients who will not respond to the known standard of care. To achieve our mission, a very experienced multidisciplinary team of medical oncologists, biomarker discovery scientists, pathologists, and data scientists have come together to address this major unmet need in cancer treatment and personalized medicine. Our scientific advisory board members are luminaries and thought leaders in the medical and the pharmaceutical industry, and have guided us to develop the platform to address the unmet needs. It's very unfortunate today that only 20 to 40% of the patients respond to an approved therapy. And fortunately, the physicians cannot tell priori who will respond to an approved therapy. Hence, error in therapy selection can lead to cancer progression and unnecessary toxicity, as it is that there's not much time for that. So our platform helps physicians to identify patients who will respond to a therapy. And this is a major breakthrough in the industry today. The pharmaceuticals today are running clinical trials. I'm not sure what's going on. The pharmaceuticals today, you know what's going on here? The pharmaceuticals today, you know what's going on?
It looks like you might have a timer set. You might be trying to automatically advance.
Okay, the pharmaceuticals today are running clinical trials to demonstrate that their new drugs are more effective than the standard of care. But unfortunately, the physicians cannot tell who will respond to that approved therapy, but will respond to a new drug. And all patients are included in the drug trial, diluting its efficacy and success rate. Hence, the trials are long, cost billions of dollars, but unfortunately, the success rate is only 5%. And our platform is able to identify early who are these high-risk patients who will not respond to the standard of care, but will respond to the new drug, and thereby improving the success rate of drug approval. Our platform takes in digitized tissue images and with a unique approach and method is able to determine a risk score, and that risk score helps physician drive informed treatment decision. If the score is high, it basically tells the physician that this patient will not respond, and so to give them an advanced therapy. And if the score is low, then the patient will respond and to continue with the standard of care. This is, again, a major breakthrough and a game changer. We also are able to identify hotspots on the tissue that allows new drug development. We have validated multiple disease types across multiple therapies in several medical institutions over the last couple of years, and now we are ready to engage and go to the partner with the customers. We have filed multiple patents and also have published our results in high-impact peer-reviewed journals. There are several AI-based startups who are primarily focused on cancer detection, but that has very limited clinical application. We have been able to diagnose cancer with very high accuracy as well as efficiency for the pathologist, and that basically helps the pathologist to be able to reduce the discordance between multiple pathologies. That means the error in diagnosis from 30% to nearly 2%. There are few genomic companies out there who have also developed prognostic tools, which is basically means they can predict how disease aggressiveness, but not treatment dependent. But unfortunately, they're very costly. At the same time, the accuracy rate is not high. We have been able to dive only company that have developed a predictive tool which can predict treatment upfront before a treatment is given. And that helps the surgeons, the physicians, as well as the patient. It is like a Super Bowl game when you can predict the winner before the game even begun. It's a $50 billion plus market space. And after having developed and validated, we are now engaged with multiple pharmas across multiple diseases, and also taking our diagnostic and treatment prediction tool through FDA approval early next year into the clinic for revenue generation in the clinic. But already we have started generating revenue from the pharma engagement. So we plan to get profitability in 2024 and scale from today's 1.4 million revenue to 30 million in 2024 and to 300 million in 2026. Our goal was to raise 2 million. We have so far raised 1.8. and trying to close another additional 200K angel investment by this quarter. Thank you.
All right, want to open it up to the judges for any questions?
Well, I'll start. So, I mean, listen, this sounds amazing to me. I mean, it truly is something that would, I think, revolutionize cancer care. I'm curious to know, though, post FDA, I mean, let's not even get into the FDA approval process. Post FDA, can you just clarify who is the targeted economic buyer for it? You said the pharmas, there's the labs. I mean, how do you get this into market? How does this become, a tool in the toolkit that gets used?
So good question. So our immediate revenue generation is from the pharmaceuticals, and because they are trying to develop new drugs, so they can use our platform to identify patients. Like they are trying to do clinical trials today. Unfortunately, they have no idea who will fail. So for them, it is very important because now we can tell them who will fail standard of care. So when they recruit these patients into the clinical trial for both the control arm and the experimental arm, now they know that everybody will fail the standard of care. So anybody who responds to the new drug are the ones who are actually going to be responding to the drug. So their statistical significance can be obtained with a very short cohort of patients, and they don't have to run trials for 10, 11 years and spending billions of dollars.
Yeah, so if I understand correctly, the first go to market, the beachhead, is the pharmas who are doing the trials with their drugs. It's not the oncologists who are trying to determine which drug they should use on their patient.
Yes, so we have also, like I shared over here, that we have developed two types of clinical applications. One is the cancer diagnosis tool, which helps the pathologist to minimize the error rate and be able to be more efficient and accurate. And that is something we are taking through FDA approval into the clinic early next year for revenue. At the same time, follow on will be the prostate cancer and the breast cancer, triple negative breast cancer tools, treatment prediction tools, which we already have validated and published our results. We are taking that also through FDA approval, subsequently end of next year, beginning of 2023. For again, revenue. There are already tools from the genomic side, which, as I mentioned, are not predictive but prognostic and not very high accuracy, which are being used regularly in the clinic. So the clinicians are very excited about is because biopsy is done routinely across every center, and we are able to, from the tissue images, digitized tissue images, within few minutes, able to tell them that who will respond and who will not, and the cost is very low.
And we are going to have to wrap up there.
Okay.
All righty. Thank you, Potomac. Great presentation. All right. So that wraps up our life science category. Thank you to everyone who pitched. And we are on to our last category of the day, and it's software tech enabled category. As a reminder, the finalists in this category are Coursera, Loopy Laundry, and Moon Shadow Mobile. Thanks everyone for holding in there. We're almost done. So Coursera, you are up first. Coursera is improving user experience, protecting privacy, deterring fraud, and saving you time and money.
Hello, can you guys see my slide deck?
Yes.
And me, I guess I had to put myself there. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Well, thanks, Amy. Thanks. I'm ready whenever you guys are.
We're ready.
Hi, I'm Abrar Ahmed, founder and CEO of Coursera. I'm on a mission to make your life simple and safer in the digital ID world. We've all been there. Well, I guess that's what's going on. Excuse me. We've all been there where we're on the phone or online with our bank or a cable company where we have to provide our personal sensitive information, such as our name or date of birth, Or that secret question about the second grade teacher, which we've probably forgotten their name of, right? And then we trip and they ask us to do that again. Now we're getting inundated with all these codes that are coming via text or on the phone via emails. I just find that a really frustrating experience to prove my identity. In talking with executives at financial institutions, I've come to learn that with this increase of massive fraud, and also because of the pandemic, we went to more remote transactions, these guys are walking an efficiency tightrope, trying to balance security with user experience, because the current solutions that they have, such as what I've told you, are really not working, and their users are very frustrated. For these executives, providing a simple user experience for identity verification is top of mind, because the consumer attitudes have changed. So who's our customer? Well, this executive is in the small, medium business enterprise. He's actually a business operator and not an IT executive. They have a strong desire to put this solution for the consumers where they can fight fraud, give a better experience, and reduce operational efficiency, increase it. But here's the catch. They don't have any SDK or software developers to implement and do this. Coursera's IDGo solution solves the problem for these executives who are walking on that efficiency tightrope. It balances by providing a great user experience, increases operational efficiency, and reduces fraud. We deliver this as an identity authentication as a service to them. It is cloud-based. Here's the other thing. I told you about that customer who does not have an IT staff. We deliver our solution as an appless, no-code solution. It can be implemented in an hour or less. And they can be up and running with our product actually in an hour with training. So how does this work? Well, let's take a look. There's a one-time enrollment setup that you have to do to get your digital identity. And it's a simple process. You'll get an SMS text, you'll scan your driver's license, and you'll do what we call a selfie match. And it takes less than 90 seconds to go through that process. And then you're done. Now, once you have IDGo, for the enterprise to authenticate you moving forward, it's really simple. And it's actually passwordless, meaning you don't share information. You use basically Touch ID or Face ID as an experience. It takes less than 5 seconds. You don't share information, you're authenticated, and the enterprise actually knows who they are. It's a verified identity. So what are the key product benefits? Well, privacy has really become a big issue, as you guys all know. And that is something that's key to me too personally. I've already told you about passwordless authentication. But the other thing is we don't actually store any biometrics or use it. We use device biometrics that never leaves the phone. On top of that, the user has the right to be deleted anytime, and they control the data that they use. The other thing is we have so many different identities. With IDGo, you have one identity that's reusable. Think of it like TSA pre-check. Well, once you have it, and wherever TSA is, whichever airport, you get to go through it. So wherever IDGo is working, you have your IDGo, you can use it with any service provider in any channel, whether online or offline in the remote contact center. Top of that, security is really important over here. So the underlying protocol over here is cryptographics. That's a little geeky and is meant to be. But we've also embraced something called FIDO, Open Authentication Protocol. That is supported by Google, Visa, PayPal, and the likes. The market opportunity is significant in front of us. So how are we going about this? Well, our plan is to establish into the small, medium markets, financial institutions, actually credit unions, a beachhead. Then once we've gained credibility, we want to expand to others. Our point of entry into this market is through the contact center, which is an underserved market. And yes, the traffic has actually gone up in the pandemic with the contact center. So what's our progress? We have 4 credit unions that already are using our product. We are generating revenue, and we have demonstrated in the contact center to them a 90% reduction in member authentication time. So when you call using a product, you as a consumer do passwordless, and they can actually greet you with your name, and it's a clear ROI. But what I'm mostly excited about are the POCs that we have. One is with AAA Oregon, and then with Vesta. One's in insurance, and the other one's fintech. Both of them present millions of identities in front of us to highly scale our business. What we're doing for AAA is very interesting. We're solving a problem called the Netflix issue. They do 400,000 transactions, and people actually share credentials, so they lose revenue. we're going to be able to address that problem for them. The growth opportunity that we're projecting here is 30 million by 2026 in annual recurring revenue. I believe this is actually a conservative approach by us based on what we know. I think we can do much better. We can probably add another 10, 20 million with a more aggressive approach and going faster to new verticals, and especially with AAA leading to a national play, and with Vesta, whose customers are AT&T, and they can provide a significant opportunity if we deploy the product there. So let's talk about competition. There's lots of it. Well, I'll tell you, the current competition is basically, we call it 1G, 2G. They're in 3G and 4G mode right now. We have developed a product from ground up to be a 5G authentication service. And the key over here is Applis. And going back to even AAA and Vesta, they have large development teams, but they're using a product, but it's simple to deploy.
About 30 seconds left.
We're raising our current round for $1 million. It's a safe. Our current investors are re-upping, and the use of proceeds is really to get our POCs done and move forward with credit unions and get our SOC 2 compliance. You've got to have a good team. Well, I'll tell you, one thing about our team is our management team, we all have experience in this industry for more than 25 years. This is not a new play for us. We've done it. Top of that, we have a board with successful entrepreneurs that have raised money, done exit, and also represent operational expertise. Thank you. Join us on this journey to make your life simpler and better.
Awesome. Thank you, Abrar. I'm going to open it up to the judges now for questions. Who wants to go first?
I'll take it again. Abrar, it's good to see you again.
Thank you, Diane. Good to see you.
Good to see you. I always love listening to you. I love your enthusiasm. So I'm interested in, and it's been a while since you and I have spoken. Are you going after other data sources in terms of authenticating the individuals, the drivers, things I get?
We can. The product is flexible to do that. Absolutely. Yeah. If we can, it depends on the risk profile of the particular user. AAA has a different profile versus the financial institutions.
Right. So what other data sources are you thinking about?
We're going to go into DMV, right, to check actually that record as well too. We're actually looking at phone, mobile network operators, and there's probably somebody else that we can partner with to get some data.
Gotcha.
You know who.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, they have lots of data. It'd be great to have their data.
Mm-hmm.
That's just very why contact why centers like why that being the first?
Yeah, so a great question. When we first went and launched ourselves with these credit unions, we asked them what use case, and they told us it was a contact center because of social engineering attacks, right? These guys don't have the ability to buy voice biometric, which is very expensive. So that's a point of entry. Now contact centers is not only the phone call, it's chat, it's bots, it's digital banking. So we'll be expanding our use case into that. It was a clear ROI for them. And by the way, even AAA invests our contact center into that. We think it's actually an underserved market and a great opportunity because we fine-tuned the product to do that.
Any other questions?
Latif's has got to have one. I'm sure he's got one.
I have a question. I was trying to think of a way to ask it that was shorter, but with the rise of sort of cryptocurrency, and I think banks are starting to support that, and maybe it's not there yet, but do you see your product being able to fit in with that changing financial future?
To protect the accounts or?
Yes,
Yes, absolutely. Matter of fact, our board member that was Ron Pitters, he's with Axos Crypto. And the biggest is, he said, the fear of everybody getting in because multi-factor auth, and he loves the product. So we're very excited about what we will be able to do in that space, because he said people are not putting money in. They're leaving it $500 because they're so afraid they're going to lose their money. So he sees us as an opportunity where that we can put in a better authentication system, more secure, and they should be able to put more money in. So we'll see how that goes for us. It's an avenue of interest for us. Absolutely.
Yeah, we will stop there.
All righty. Thank you, Kosera. All right. So next up is a peer-to-peer laundry marketplace, Loopy Laundry. Please take the screen and begin when you're ready.
All right. Let me try to pull up the presentation here. Give me 1 second. having a little bit of difficulty. Let me see. You guys can't see that yet, huh?
No.
No, not
Here
yet.
we go. Here we go. I got it. Hopefully. Give me 1 second. It says I need to, well, actually, here we go. Let me see if I can do it. Oh, here we go. Sorry about that.
Nope, there it is. Perfect.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Amy and Carrie and Ben, for giving me the opportunity to share a little bit more of our vision for Loopy. My name is John. I'm the CEO and founder of Loopy Laundry, which is a peer-to-peer laundry marketplace on a mission to improve lives through laundry. And so we do this by offering a mobile application for iOS and Android to our thousands of existing customers. We have on-demand, next-day turnaround wash and fold laundry delivery service for a flat rate. We service thousands of residential, hotel, apartment dwellers, as well as commercial clients. And we do all of this despite not owning any physical washers or dryers. So we connect customers with individuals who we call certified Loopy washers, who can now earn additional income from the comfort of home doing laundry. The 3-word descriptor that you could use would be Uber Eats, but for laundry. And so we're taking that probably relatable pile of dirty clothes that all of us probably have encountered recently in our laundry hampers or bedroom floors, and through our signature blue Loopy laundry duffel bags, we can transform them into a pile of neatly folded, well-presented, clean clothes, again, delivered to the customer's doorstep. And we've had customers literally describe the service as magical. This is actually one of our testimonials, unprompted review on Yelp from a Portland customer named Maria. She says, super helpful for this busy mama of 2. I work full time and have 2 littles under 4. Having Loopy has been a lifesaver. I fill up the container and it comes back magically in 24 hours, neatly sorted and folded. All I have to do is toss my kids' garments in their drawers because they're already sorted. So worth it, as I can now spend time I would be otherwise doing laundry/folding, playing/doing fun things with my kids, reasonably priced for the excellent service they provide. And our thought is that we can create that magic through our platform for hundreds of thousands of other customers like Maria. They can order on our mobile application like a food delivery or grocery delivery, but instead of going to the restaurant, going to the grocery store, we go right to their doorstep, pick up their laundry, bring it to one of our certified washers, and bring it back to them next day. So we have a flat rate pricing model. We charge $29.99 per bag. We've now done over 30,000 bags like the one behind my virtual background here. We do offer a larger size offering for our commercial clients. And again, the best part about this model is that it's on demand. There's no contracts. It's supposed to make the laundry experience better for people. And what have we done so far on this mission? Well, we've scaled from the Pacific Northwest. So we started out in Seattle and Portland to Denver and Austin, Chicago, DC, and I'm so excited to announce we recently scaled earlier this month to San Diego, Dallas, and Atlanta, our 7th, 8th, and 9th cities. And as you can imagine, there are a lot more cities with people who have laundry problems. So I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. We have so much more in store. I think the big, again, differentiator for us is we're not solely reliant on brick and mortar laundry fulfillment centers like the established competition, but we also have a more nuanced approach to a managed marketplace model relative to some of the other true peer-to-peers. Again, we've done at this point over $1.25 million in early sales. The highlight for me there is we don't own any washers or dryers, so it's turning a depreciating asset into a revenue generating machine, similar to how Uber was able to transform transportation despite not owning any vehicles. Our customers spend lots of money on our platform. They're spending over $500 on average. And it's really amazing because laundry is a persistent problem, right? You can order us one week, you'll probably have dirty laundry the next week. And so we think this is a really great opportunity. We're averaging over 45% margin over the last 6 months. This is a snapshot of Seattle. About 1 square mile here. This is really the secret sauce that makes our business model successful. We have about a few hundred customers there in blue and a network of washers in yellow. If we can recreate this in every city in this country, this is a $1 billion opportunity. Lisa's a washer in Seattle, and so let's hear from Lisa. She says, laundry is my favorite chore. I was glad to have the opportunity to work from home and get paid for something I enjoy doing. I think there's tens of thousands of other people like Lisa looking for a way to earn income from the comfort of home while she's able to spend time with her family and or watch Netflix. Donna, a customer in Seattle, says, being near 80 and not anxious to navigate very steep steps to our laundry here, Loopy is my solution and a very satisfying one. We've raised now over $2.5 million since we launched the business in 2018 on convertible notes. We're raising around right now. It's actually fully subscribed. I'm willing to oversubscribe it. We're looking for other angel groups, angel investors, and early stage VCs to join us. We have taken on investment from other noteworthy angel groups, including 37 Angels, Elevate Capital, and Band of Angels out of Silicon Valley. And I think this is just the beginning of our growth trajectory at Loopy, and I'm happy to talk through any questions. Thanks again.
A minute to spare. So a little extra time for Q&A.
Hey, John, this is Latif.
Hey,
Great
Latif.
presentation. Good to see you again.
Yeah.
I guess one of the questions that I've been wondering about with Loopy is as the pandemic ends, I work right next to the laundry machine. Turns out it's in the room next to me, and so I end up doing laundry. But I wonder how that's going to affect your washers, and how that's going to affect sort of just the distribution and everything else as people go back to work, or how do you see the end of the pandemic sort of affecting you?
Yeah, that is a phenomenal question, and it's one that I think about all the time, right? Because it is a great unknown, big time question mark. I'd be lying if I told you I had a crystal ball and I could tell you how consumer behaviors would shift after post-pandemic, right? That being said, here's my hunch. My hunch is that the pandemic has really allowed consumers to gravitate towards on-demand services that save them time. Case in point being food delivery, grocery delivery, right? Those verticals have gotten so much more adoption because of the pandemic. And obviously, we saw the revenue chart like Loopy has as well. So my thought is, if those behaviors become habits, I think that the customers we gotten since the pandemic, they're going to stick around. And probably there's going to be all these people who might be spending more time outside of their house now that they're not in pandemic mode, who will have even less desire to spend time in their home doing laundry post-pandemic. So that's my sort of optimistic worldview on that. We will obviously see how it plays out at the end, but great question.
John, I have multiple actually. So are you, would you say your customers are more like residential rental apartment buildings, those folks, or?
Yeah, great question. We have a little bit of everything, right? We have the Amazon employee in Seattle who lives in an apartment that doesn't have access to a washer and dryer. We also have the family of 4 who has a single family house in a more sort of residential neighborhood. They have a washer and dryer in their house, but they don't have the time or desire to do laundry. They do have the disposable income. Oftentimes those individuals, those families end up actually spending more money on the platform because they have more disposable income. But we do have both, and it's still to be decided which one, is carries the business forward.
Okay, so for the two scenarios you mentioned, right, the first one, the residential, and now a lot of residential rental concierge services or apps are coming up, for instance, Alfred, etc. Have you tried associating yourself with them? Because then you would, I mean, you know, these rental folks would have the information through those concierge services. The second thing is, if it is indeed the people like family of four, then have you gotten any feedback on your price point? Because that seemed expensive for a family of four or more using that.
Yeah, so, you know, I guess the first question for the concierge services, we've reached out to a few. I think it will be even easier for us when we're in more cities so that a concierge service can just you know, adopt us or integrate across the board. And then with regards to the price point, you know, if you look at our traction to date, this is a pretty good starting point, but in our minds, it's still just the very beginning. So I really think that over the next 12 months, we'll probably be in cities where price point is way higher, right? Like a San Francisco or a Brooklyn. But we might be scaling to other cities where the price point is actually lower. So I think there will be some pricing variability as we scale to more geographies. But in terms of the actual price point itself, you would be surprised. We have some regular customers in Seattle. They will literally order 4 bags every other week or every week, 1 bag for every family member, and they will pay $30 for that. And, you know, if you think about it, that's a lot of laundry that takes time. And, you know, if we're spending 15, 20.
We're going to have to wrap up there, John.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, over time. Thank you.
Thanks, John. I know I did fluff and fold in college, and that would have saved me a ton of money.
Awesome.
All right. So moving on to our final pitch of the day, Moon Shadow Mobile. Moon Shadow Mobile is turning billions of connected vehicle data records into actionable information. Let's learn more. Moon Shadow Mobile, can you please share your screen?
We can see the screen, but we can't hear you.
There we go. So you can hear me now?
Yes.
Wonderful. Play from start. Can you turn
It's on the wrong screen. So
it's on the wrong screen?
Yes, when you go swap.
Swap displays. Okay. Yeah. So my name is Aymar Bushes. I'm a CEO and founder of Moon Shadow Mobile. We develop database technology, core database technology. We started in 2010 with the development of voter mapping, a geospatial database engine. And in 2015, we added the component time to that to create, you know, what you could refer to as a time series geospatial database engine. The biggest market for that we've found is in connected vehicles. And so we're now promoting our solution Ephemeris as a connected vehicle database engine. So what is connected vehicle data? So vehicles now are connected to the internet as they drive, and they update a location point, you know, every 5 seconds, every 30 seconds, depending on the manufacturer. This data, of course, is sent to the cloud, and we can store that very efficiently in Ephemeris. So here you see a vehicle as it moves and releases updates every 3 or 5 seconds. And the result is really a series of breadcrumbs that once you concatenate them together, forms a trip. Now you combine thousands of trips, and transportation engineers gain very valuable insights in how corridors function. Combine millions of trips, and you can start to analyze the driving situation and conditions in an entire metro area. Why is this useful? So
as all of you know, forest fires are happening more and more. And during a forest fire evacuation, you need to know what roads are open. With our technology, we can provide that information both to the driver, to EMS staff, as well as to the DOTs. This is just one example of a use case. And a year and a half ago, we did a project for 7 East Coast states for exactly this during hurricane evacuations. Another example is that our analytics platform can be used by transportation engineers to recognize dangerous situations on the roads before incidents happen. And this is an example where DKS Associates, based here in Portland, did a safety analysis in San Antonio, Texas, using, I think, about 5 billion waypoint records. The third example is that with our technology, you can instantly spot incidents, the exact location of the incidents and the exact moment that it happened. And we can again make this data available to EMS staff. What are our technical advantages? Well, we are a core database engine. We're purpose-built for connected vehicle data. The data is about 10 times smaller without loss of information. Queries are run about 10 times faster. Where we really shine is in generating maps. We're probably around 100 times faster than other database technologies. We have 15 patents issued now in the US, Europe, Japan, Australia, and China, and we have another 10 to 15 in the pipeline. The total addressable market is significant. What's happening right now is that all car manufacturers are switching their new model lines to make them connected vehicles. So the number of vehicles will increase significantly, but also the amount of data that is generated by the vehicles will increase. Wejo, a connected vehicle data aggregator, estimated in their PIPE presentation that the total addressable market is 500 billion by 2030. What's our revenue model? We provide it as a platform as a service. So departments of transportations, cities, counties, metropolitan planning organizations, as well as consultants can access our mobility analytics platform, including the data, for a monthly fee. We could also license the database technology. We're not doing that yet. Plus, our technology is sticky. It's difficult to switch to other technologies since the data is so large. We just were selected as one of 5 vendors for 17 East Coast states for 4 to 8 years, and this was the result of the proof of concept for the hurricanes that we did a year and a half ago. It's a past business model, it scales very well, and it's very profitable. I'm a serial software entrepreneur, as well as an angel investor. I'm an LP in Capital, Elevate Capital, and I've made investments through TIE. Adrian Permine, who is sitting next to me, is our brains when it comes to how to modify our technology and what features to develop to make our technology suitable for the transportation analytics that consultants need. Some of the existing investors in our company, Skip Rung, Mark Manley, I'm sure many of you know them. And this is how we look at the emerging connected vehicle data ecosystem, with at the top, the data generators, the car manufacturers, the fleet software developers, data aggregators such as Wejo, Inrix, Arity, and Autonomo, and we work with all 4 of them and receive data from all of them. We're right now really in the data analytics sphere, and then at the bottom, you see the analytics consumers, the DOTs, the consultants. Here is a quick overview of some of the organizations that have either used or fueled Ephemeris, our technology. And then let's talk about exits. There are many different parties in this emerging industry. And what you see of this picture here, 3 of those companies here have reached out to us in the last 6 months. Right now, the offers that we're getting are based on revenue, 8 to 10 times revenue, in the $12 million range. What we want to do, what I strongly believe, is that if we raise another $3 to $4 million, we've raised about up to 2 million so far, and we grow the company another 2 to 4 years, we could exit well above $100 million. That's not a pie in the sky. Streetlight Data, one of our competitors in the analytics space, was acquired this week by Jacobs for $209 million. Otonomo and Wejo, with very little revenue, have gone public and are valued between 300 and 400 million. So thank you very much. I'm ready for questions.
All right, it's good to see you. It's Diane. It's been a long time. Yeah, good to see progress. I mean, really excited about that. Can you talk a little bit about the monetization model? I mean, obviously doing the math, I can sort of calculate where your revenue is right now. And I'm just wondering, given the richness of your data and the partnerships you have, why isn't the revenue higher at this point? And is it connected to how you're basically pricing it or what?
Let me give this to Adrian here.
Hi, so I'm a consultant with DKS Associates. I'm our national director for connected vehicles and smart cities, and have helped IMER identify a lot of the business opportunities, and our company's been working with them for a lot of those business insights. The reality is Moonshadow solved the problem with this database platform that our industry was about to have. And we're just now beginning to actually have it, because the connected vehicle data at the scale and volume of what we're looking at here on the screen was not available yet. But we have been very excited about having the access to this kind of granularity of data and the insights that we can get out of it. But we were terrified of the volume of data that we were going to be dealing with once it really started to become available at scale. And that's just now beginning to happen. And some of those companies, Wejo and Otonomo, are aggregating this data from multiple car manufacturers and finally making it available to the industry. So we expect things to pick up pretty drastically. And that contract that he was mentioning with all those states on the Eastern Seaboard, it could be really game-changing for them.
So, I mean, given that, what is the monetization model going to be?
So it's a platform as a service. So the consultants, like Adrian's firm, they need access. They need to do analytics. We're currently doing a project for Orange County, where we're using connected vehicle data from Wejo to evaluate the performance of the corridors. And it's 90 corridors, 2,000 intersections. So what we did there is we responded together with DKS Associates on RFPs. So in this case, the consultant uses our platform to do their transportation analytics, and we charge a fee, of course, for them to do that. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question, Diane?
Yeah, sort of. Maybe we can take it offline.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay, it's complicated.
We have about 20 seconds left, so we could squeeze in one more question if there's a short one. Or we can wrap it up there.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Moonshadow Mobile.
Well, thank you, and thanks for letting me present. And I hope to see many of you tonight.
Yes, likewise. All right. Well, that's a wrap, folks. We heard from 13 really amazing companies today, and thanks for sticking it out with us. The judges will now head off to tally up their scores and decide the winners. They will be announced this evening at the TIE Awards dinner. For those of you attending, we'll look forward to seeing you there. And for those of you who are not, please note that you can join in via Brand Live, who will be live streaming the event. If you'd like to join us via Brand Live, please go to the TIE Oregon website and register. The event starts at 5:30, but the winner presentations will start around 7 p.m. tonight. And as a reminder, one company from each of the clean tech, life science, and software tech-enabled categories will receive a total equitable investment of $300,000 between the three of them. And the winner of the early stage category will receive a $25,000 equitable investment. So there's a lot of money on the table. It's going to be very exciting to see who's winning. Thank you to all of our judges. We really appreciate your time today. And also thank you to our sponsors. We wanted to call out Elevate Capital, Moss Adams, and Newmark. Thank you everyone for putting your time into this. We really appreciate it. We look forward to seeing those of you that are attending on a couple hours from now. And then I wanted to pass it off to Nitin to close us out for the evening.
Thank you, Amy, and thank you very much for hosting this and this event and your support and sponsorship from Newmark. Just wanted to take the opportunity to, first of all, thank the judges and Team Ty, Ben, Carrie, and Anna for creating such an amazing event. But most importantly, all of the Ty Angels and other investors from within the Ty network and even outside of the Ty network. We had several chapters who participated in the Oregon Tap Fund 2, which is sort of the back end of Pitch Oregon. And I'm super proud that we've been able to make Pitch Oregon into an investable event. That was a long time dream of mine, and to see it come into fruition is really awesome. Looking forward to the announcements and the winners this evening. I want to also extend a special thanks to the Oregon Growth Board and Business Oregon for contributing and investing in the TAP Fund as well. Super excited to see these companies, and all of you who are attending and watching this stream, live stream, thank you for taking time to attend this event. See you this evening.
See everyone later. Good afternoon.